Yeah, we're off. Bye, guys.
Rediscover Australia and rediscover savings at New Age Caravans with $3,000 worth of extra value. Get $500 free fuel, 3-year free bumper gift warranty, 3-year free scheduled servicing, 3-year free roadside assist. Terms and conditions apply.
It's not working again. Oh, what? Ah, there he is.
Set an alarm for 30 minutes.
Shalom and good evening, everyone. This is Amir Tsarfati, and I am live from the office, from my small little office.
Hey, guy, good to see you.
Here in Galilee, and I hope that you can hear me.
Hey, Phil, good to see you, bro.
There is, yeah, all right. I hope it's okay. Anyway, just so you know, we are going to talk today about something extremely important, about hostages, about hospitals, and about a major shift in tectonic plates in the world as a result of the events in the Middle East right now, especially ever since October 7th. Talk about everything. But before we do that, let me ask you right now to click on the share button. If it's Facebook or YouTube or it's on Twitter, share, because a lot of you think that everybody's watching it. Many people always say, well, we didn't know it was on. Just share it right now. And that is a small thing, but it makes a world of a difference. So please do that. And let's start with a prayer. Father, I thank you so much. You are the God of Israel. They are your people. This is your land. We are your people. There is your word, and you're going to send your son back to this place. Father, no one can take that from you. And even if Israel think that you left that nation, you say, how can you think that? You may think that, but a mother cannot forget her child. So, Father, today we want to look into not only the things that happen, but the things that are behind it, and to see the miraculous intervention that can only come from you in a world that is so evil and so much against you and against your sheltered ones. So we thank you and we bless you, and we ask this in the name of the Holy One of Israel, Yeshua, we pray. Amen. Amen. So
Amen.
Shalom, everyone. Again, this is Amir Tsarfati. It's November 16th. It is Thursday. And this is an extremely important update that I really hope that you will now share as you can with as many people as you can. All right. Thank you. So the first thing I want to update you is that Hamas is not only active in Gaza, but it's also active in the West Bank. And we have received a reminder this afternoon in one of the roads that leads from the Bethlehem area into Jerusalem. There was a checkpoint there, and a car with 3 Palestinian Hamas terrorists approached. And as the car reached one of the lanes of the checkpoint, 3 terrorists got out of the car, and with guns and pistols and axes, they started attacking. One 20-year-old Israeli soldier was killed. 5 others were wounded. All 3 terrorists immediately were shot and killed.
Oh,
and
man.
looked into
Phil, I give you an accidental upside down thumb. Sorry, mate.
their car, we were quite shocked. Take a look at
Man.
the stuff that we found in their car
Well, let me do it.
that was supposed to basically last for a major attack that should last them for a long time. They were aiming toward Jerusalem with axes, with pistols, with guns, with lots of ammunition, with hammers. They wanted to kill Jews, as many as they can, with whatever they have. They even brought IDF, stolen IDF uniforms so they can pretend to be soldiers and they can access Israeli civilians with more confidence. So this is what we're dealing with. We paid a dear price. A 20-year-old soldier from Haifa was killed. And but again, miracle, because what they planned was huge. They came prepared for something very, very big, and thankfully, it wasn't executed the way they wanted. So this is a reminder that Hamas is not just a Gaza. It's an idea. It's ideology. In fact, I just read a survey from the last 3 days that was done in part in Gaza, but mostly in the West Bank. 2/3 of the Palestinians in the West Bank actually are very much in favor of the October 7th massacre, and they would vote for Hamas if there were elections right now. That's what we deal with. That's the people that we have next to us who wants to live instead of us. Now, I'd like to also remind you that we are dealing with a situation in Gaza right now that is evolving into a great and amazing performance of the IDF. On October 7th, we were surprised. On October 7th, we were defeated. That day was a day that we'll remember forever. It is the bloodiest day in the history of Israel, but ever since October 8th, when we managed to get back on our feet, we are now back and we perform probably in the most brilliant and amazing military performance since the beginning of this country. Better than 1967, better than 1973. By all means.
I got to agree. They've absolutely leveled Gaza, haven't they? Got to agree with you. It's a pretty comprehensive victory.
The most amazing performance the IDF ever had
I agree.
is being conducted right now. This is from a commando that of today. I think that we have that video that can show you some of the fights that we just had today. Take a look at this one. All right.
Wow.
Air conditioner companies are trying to ban this device from the country. It can cool down any room in seconds.
Should listen. Right.
Now, what I want you to know is that we are fighting in the most densely populated area on planet Earth. And I want you to know two things. I want you to remember them. In the south, in Gaza, we just entered into the largest terror base on planet Earth. The largest terror base on planet Earth. 1/3 of it is above the ground. 2/3 of it is underneath the ground. What we're dealing right now with is the above the ground. Northern Gaza, it looks like after a major earthquake that was followed by a major tsunami. Trust me, there's not much left from the top because every other house was a terrorist hub that is covering a shaft of a tunnel. But we are now engaging, it's a 3 steps process. First, you take over, then you purify, and then you destroy in order to get to the remainder of the terror base, which is under the ground. And trust me, we are attacking under the ground, and we are just doing that quietly away from the media. It's all under the ground. We don't need, I don't want to know, and I don't think anyone needs to know. All we need to know is that the job is being done. And that's, again, from great defeat on October 7th to amazing, amazing performance. We have destroyed so far nearly 95 both government and military installations of Hamas. There is no more Hamas, at least not above the ground. They're under the ground right now. In one case, the Golani Brigade made it to the parliament of Hamas. Take a look at the parliament in the good old days where they used to meet on the left. And the Golani Brigade with Israeli flag took over the parliament of the Nazi ISIS Hamas that was there. And may I show you, after we took over that place, we made it very clear that this building cannot stay standing. And if we can show the video of us blowing up this building, there you go. The parliament of Hamas is gone. And now we are, this is a declarative thing. This is beyond the fact that we believe there is some stuff under the ground. We also believe that when you say that you're demolishing Hamas, you need to remove Hamas symbols of control and government. And that's what we're doing right now. Step by step, we're taking over the military command centers, their outposts, their major outposts, and we are collecting tons of important information that immediately is being processed into actions that we take on the ground. If we get a map, if we know that something is going on somewhere, immediately that intelligence is being processed into operative order. And the amazing
Diane, your friend wants to go to Israel.
thing that is happening, like it never happened in any other war in the history of Israel, is the ability in the, maybe in the level of the company, not even in the level of the platoon, to speak to the Air Force, to the Navy, to the ground forces, and also to the intelligence. So we work in synergy that we've never had before between all arms of the military as we move forward. In some cases, the Israeli military is encountering some interesting humanitarian issues. We went into a building that was abandoned, and then we found a very old woman. And the old woman said that she has an autistic daughter that is hiding somewhere. She can't find her. The Israeli soldiers searched, found that daughter, took both the elderly woman and the autistic daughter, and I don't know if we have the pictures. There you go. We brought them out and put them in an armored vehicle and drove them into a safe place. That's as far as things that we see on the ground like that. We have, believe it or not, a unit that is all about saving animals. Abandoned horses and abandoned dogs that are there. And by the way, for the most part, they have been abused for months, if not years. And so we also do that. And
Diane, I was with my brother and his mate for brunch this morning, as I told you, and they're the same. They think anything I say, they think I'm just being a conspiracy nut. I told them about what's going on with Israel and how that, and they just think I'm a conspiracy nut. But it's black and white. I'm not making this stuff up.
And again, we open humanitarian corridors for civilians to move to the south, and most of the residents of northern Gaza already moved, and that is, of course, the great defeat for Hamas, who was hoping to use them as human shields. So that's what you get to see in those places. You can also see that we took over the docking area of the fishing boat this morning. Flotilla 13, which is the Navy SEALs of Israel, made it, and you can see a picture of them holding the flag of Israel right there by the beach. It was we were fighting there against the terror bases of their Navy SEALs, which means the most capable people that they had on their end. And we either killed them or captured them. We captured quite a few of them that realized that unless they surrender, they will not be able to live. And we are interrogating them on the spot. We brought with us prisoners interrogators, so we don't have to get them into Israel to an installation and waste important time. They're being interrogated on the spot, and on the spot we take decisions based on valuable information that we get from those terrorists that we capture. And so, if that's not enough, we also go after other institutions such as the Al-Quds University, that was all about teaching hatred of Jews and Israel, and they will not teach it anymore because that place is gone. That's not the only place that is gone. The offices of the head of the security, the offices of the governor, the offices of the engineering college where they used to work on bombs and rockets. All of that is gone. Again, what the testimonies we have from Israeli correspondents that are there is that northern Gaza looks like earthquake followed by a tsunami. We literally, and the reason is because we were shocked to find how many houses are infected with terrorism. In fact, look at this. We entered into an innocent house, and look at what we found underneath the bed. I don't know if we have that video. Underneath, here we are in bedroom, baby girl written on the kids. Look what's underneath the bed. Rockets.
Unbelievable. Look at that.
Rockets under the bed. They found more shells of mortar shells all around these.
Yeah.
Look, they have an explosive belt and a weapon. All of that in all of that. Look what we found in a house. This is exactly why we work very, very slowly as we move. We're not wasting time, or we're not really, confused. Well, no, not at all. We move forward, but as we move, we have to move very carefully. Look, people told us that you'll never be able to make it to central Gaza City without having at least 500 dead soldiers. Well, we have 50. And we're already not only in the center, we are in this major hub of Hamas terrorists right there, which is something we're going to talk about in a few seconds.
Yay!
So that's what we have right now. From victory to victory to victory to victory. It is not easy. They are popping out of those shafts because there are thousands of them. They're trying to do something, but for the most part, when we see a shaft, we take care of business, and that shaft is connected to the same tunnel of the other shaft. And so when we find shafts like that, what we put inside should neutralize everyone in that particular tunnel. And that's how we move forward step by step. And that is quite remarkable. And now, another thing is, of course, Hamas Military Academy that we found. Take a look at this photo of the Israeli soldiers next to the Military Academy of Hamas. There's a picture of our soldiers next in slide 11. That is right there at the Military Academy. This is where they used to practice for the October 7th massacre. Here we are. We made it. We took over, and we blew it up. And as we blow things up, look what is being exposed. And look at slide 12. Look at what we see under the ground. And slide 12, we see the tunnels
Diane trying to develop that right on time. What a surprise.
that we are exposing. See, this is, it looks innocent pile of sand or dirt, but look what happens when we bring our D9 bulldozers and we actually see that they invested everything in rockets and tunnels and nothing in pipes and drainage and schools and nothing. Gaza, and every winter, Gaza is drenched with water because there is no, drainage facility, because everything that is being given to them goes to tunnels and goes to rockets. That's what they do. That's what they are. That's what they're all about. That's their life mission, if you get it. Also, we also destroyed terror infrastructures in as we move forward. You can show more pictures of slides 13 and on, so we can see one by one we get there and we destroy it and we move forward. Make no mistake, every building do you see that is destroyed, it was destroyed mostly from the air because someone was shooting from there. It's not like we drop a bomb on a building just because. I mean, these are targets that we get as we move. The ground forces identifies a target from a far remote building. They immediately talk to the F-16s or the Apache helicopters, and a rocket is getting to that particular floor of that particular building, and it is eliminated. So this is what we have so far. We're moving in a very amazing way, and of course, the Palestinians report something completely different, and world media such as BBC is known to be very biased. The BBC is refusing to call Hamas terrorist organization. You can show them the October 7th video, and it still will not convince them that they need to treat them as terrorist organization. They always twist words and they always change words. And this is the second time that they needed to say on television that they apologize. Take a look at the apology of BBC.
And now an apology from the BBC. BBC News, as it covered initial reports that Israeli forces has entered Gaza's main hospital. We said that medical teams and Arab speakers were being targeted. This was incorrect and misquoted a Reuters report. We should have said IDF forces included medical teams and Arabic speakers for this operation. So we apologize for this error, which fell below our usual editorial standards. The correct version of events was broadcast minutes later.
No, it's not far below your usual. It is your usual. We just caught you with another lie, so you had to apologize. But this is exactly the case. We brought medical teams. We brought Arab-speaking doctors so they can communicate with the locals. They broadcasted that we targeted medical teams and Arab-speaking doctors. Unbelievable. And in this case, because they were caught with the lie, they had to issue the apology. Otherwise, they continue to just always lie to the people, just like Al Jazeera is doing, Al Mayadeen and Al Arabiya, all of them. The Arab world lives in a complete eco box, thinking that a genocide is being happening, whereas in reality, let me tell you something. If we were about a genocide, this war would have ended on October 8th. Trust me, we can wipe them out within a few minutes. But in reality, because they are dressed in civilian clothes, they count civilians as if they're not terrorists. And in reality, don't believe any number they give you, because every time they want to report something, they just inflate numbers. Remember the story of the rocket that fell on the hospital in the first couple weeks of the war? They started with 50, then 100, then 500 dead people. They said it's Israeli missile. The whole world was going, insane to find out that it was their failed launch. It was 50 and not 500. They don't have a problem adding a zero whenever they report something. I don't trust their numbers, and for sure, let me tell you, every person they claim to be a civilian is actually a terrorist. In fact, I don't know if we have the video of a civilian clothes person, but I do have it on Telegram. And this is a war crime. To shoot an RPG dressed as a civilian, that means we cannot look at civilians. So this is, that's another one. It's a different one, but never mind. Look what he does. He's coming out of, we can show it. He's coming out of the hospital, shooting an RPG and running back to the hospital. Now, the reason why I show it to you is because not only that he is using the hospital as a shelter, but he's also dressed in a civilian clothes. So every civilian is now being, suspected as a terrorist. And so when they report that civilians died, it's terrorists dressed as civilians. You have to also understand that. And now let's get to the core of this update, and that's of course the hospitals. And let me explain something. First of all, this is the map of the hospitals in Gaza. I think they have more hospitals per square mile than any other place on planet Earth. And you'll see why in a few seconds. But this map shows you all the hospitals in the northern part, which is in red, which is where Israel is operating right now, and the hospitals that are more spread out in the southern part. The northern part has over 1.1 million people. The southern part has about 1 million. But you see that the northern part has tons of hospitals for a very, very important reason. Let me show you the map just of Al-Shifa Hospital so you understand why. This complex that you see on the screen, it's a complex of it's about 15 buildings, of which 7 are headquarters of Hamas inside the complex of Al-Shifa and around, as you can clearly see. And we know that there are tunnels that are connecting the buildings, but more so deep underground, there are major tunnels that are going all across the Gaza Strip. This is the main headquarter of Hamas. Main headquarter of Hamas. And I need you to understand that. Can I get back on the screen? So let me explain to you that Hamas, for many years, and we know that even from investigating their terrorists right now, as we capture them, we know that Hamas knows that Israel is not attacking hospitals. And we don't attack hospitals. The only hospital that has been attacked was the one that received a failed launch of the Islamic Jihad. That's it. We attack around because that's where terrorists are. But when we approach the hospitals, we normally call them before, we normally offer assistance, and we are giving them a chance to evacuate peacefully in order not to get hurt. Wow. In the case of the Rantisi Hospital, take a look at what we found just a few days ago.
Hey, Leslie, good to see you.
What we found, the Israeli spokesman, military spokesman, in the basement of the Rantisi Hospital, next to a bike, and next here.
This is the one that was used the last time, but it is definitely an MRI machine.
Yeah, it was good news about
the Shifa Hospital. That's the Shifa Hospital, the MRI. But let's go to the place where we had a motorcycle that we found. We actually found, and also a picture of the IDF spokesman with a list on the wall.
We're now in the basement.
There you go.
And in this basement, we found a motorcycle. They were all used in the massacre of the 7th of October. They even have bullets in this motorcycle. So they came back from the massacre on the 7th of October into Rantisi Hospital with hostages.
Into the hospital with that.
Motorcycle. Yards from here, we find the chair a woman, clothes, and a rope next to the legs. And look above this. Look above it.
What is it?
It's a baby bottle. It's a baby bottle in a basement. Above a World Health Organization sign. This is a
Wow.
suspicion for an area where hostages were being held. Again, we're in the same basement, and here we see diapers.
Hey, Shawnee, good to see
I
you.
want you to see this room. It's in the basement of the hospital. We can see this area is a closed area from the rest of the hospital. We can see the ventilation air that was done improvisedly to this area. Toilets, shower, a small kitchen will provide the terrorists their needs. Also conduct a hideout where terrorists take hostages and hide out. You're now entering into the room where we suspect the hostages were being held. I want you to look at this room. People are putting curtains with nothing above, just wall. No reason to put here a curtain unless you want to film hostages and deliver movies. There is a list. This list in Arabic, this list says we are in an operation. The operation against Israel started in the 7th of October. This is a Guardian list where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here. I want to show you a room where we found all the gear, the operational gear of Hamas. Hamas is using hospitals, like we showed the evidence in Shifa Hospital. In other hospitals, we are now seeing it in live in Rantisi Hospital. Look at what Hamas is holding inside the hospital. I want you to understand, this kind of gear is a gear for a major fight. These are explosives. These are vests with explosives. Yeah, it's a body vest for terrorists to explode on forces. Among hospitals, among patients, we have hand grenades. People shooting RPGs from hospitals. This is Hamas firing RPGs for hospitals. The world has to understand.
Hey, Lars, good to see you. Phil, Tricky come on yesterday and said hello for about an hour. So, and he's had an operation on his eye and he's feeling a lot better.
Yep. And make no mistake, if you follow me on Telegram, you know that according to the international law, and I specify the entire law,
hey, Ryan, good to see you.
As like schools, but other medical facilities, they're actually guarded by international law. Nobody can touch them unless they're being used as for military purposes, and then they are a legitimate target. And even though they are a legitimate target, and we can actually destroy them,
Still don't do it anyway.
We evacuate them. We approach them with doctors. And take a look at this video from the Shifa hospital as the Israeli commando soldiers approach. They're not holding, RPGs. They're holding incubators and bring the incubators into the hospital so they can remove the infants, the baby. Take a look at that. We bring supply, we bring beds, we bring all this equipment. These are soldiers that can easily be shot at right now just by doing this, because obviously, but take a look, boxes with baby food and with everything they need, all of that together with medical teams, doctors that speaks Arabic in order to take care of them. And yet the BBC is saying not that we brought medical teams, but that we targeted medical teams, because it's very easy to change one word. Isn't it interesting that not a single patient, not a single staff member of the hospital was either injured or killed in a raid on the hub? Now I'm going to say something that might get me in trouble, but I don't care. And I hope that your guys are sharing this with as many people as you can.
Yep, doing that.
Okay, so first of all, let me show you the MRI of Shifa Hospital, the main headquarters of Hamas. This is the MRI room, and take a look at what we found in a room that's supposed to be clear of all metal.
Inside the MRI center of the Shifa Hospital, Israeli troops breached here a few hours ago, and we have cleared the area, make sure that it's safe. And a few of the most interesting things that we have found totally confirm, without any doubt, that Hamas systematically uses hospitals in their military operations in violation of international law. And what we have found, I think, is only the tip of the iceberg. Let me show you a few examples. Security cameras have been obstructed. All of the security cameras are covered, and this isn't the only one. You'll see the rest of them here. I don't know when it was used the last time, but it is definitely an MRI machine. And if you follow me behind the MRI machine, I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant. And if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. There is an AK-47, there are cartridges, ammo, there are grenades in here, of course, uniforms, and all of that. This was hidden very conveniently, secretly behind the MRI machine. On the other side, we found a backpack with what appears to be very important intelligence, including a laptop, and we'll show you that momentarily. We tried to uncover the cameras, but all of the cameras have been obstructed. You can see there's black tape covering it. And when our troops opened this closet here, which is in the main part of the clinic, this is what they found. The contents of the bag are full military kit for one Hamas terrorist: a live grenade, ammunition, fighting vest with insignia, boots, and of course uniforms, and last but not least, standard AK-47. Inside the hospital, hidden in a secluded area, let's have a look at what we found inside the very same cabinet. There's insignia, military insignia, a knife. For those of you who read Arabic, you'll be able to understand what it says here. But it's Hamas, the military wing, Kataib al-Qassam, of course a vest with equipment, and as always, an AK-47, standard gear, grab and go. The last item, which I'm sure will be very interesting to analyze, is a laptop. We found it in the MRI room. This is how the laptop looks. I don't know who it belonged to, but now it is being analyzed by our Intel people. Tactical radio communications, which we will analyze. Lots of disks, which will be analyzed. And a computer, which at first glance already provides a lot of incriminating evidence.
And the incriminating evidence was we found photos of the abducted Israelis on that laptop. And now, let me tell you, we also found the major terror tunnel system that the world waits for us to find, because we've been telling them about it for the longest time. We brought bulldozers to the southern part of the hospital right now. We are now digging. This is 80 meters deep with 5 different levels. It's more than 200 foot deep under the ground levels. And what they did, over the last 2 weeks, they realized that Israel is closing in. So what they did, they actually poured concrete and some doors. They installed doors there and concrete walls to block it so it will not appear as if there is a tunnel there. But we know exactly, because we have the plan of the tunnels. We seize that. So we know exactly what there is under the Shifa hospital, which is exactly why the Americans also were convinced, and the White House issued a statement that was kind of our green light to go in and finally deal with it. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak right now, Israel is engaged in neutralizing the most important hub of Gaza's terror tunnel system as we speak right now. And the minute we neutralize that portion, this is the hub from which so many tunnels come into, and from where so many tunnels go out of. And of course, we believe that the leaders of Hamas that used to hide there, once they heard that we're approaching, they already took off to other places. But we are closing on them. And the minute you neutralize such a hub, you're basically neutralizing everything to the north or to the south, and you can step by step capture more and more. And we're working on it right now. There are a lot of things I cannot say because of the things we found. The IDF censors is not allowing to expose everything we know that there is, all the things that we found. But let me tell you something, it is far more than just incriminating. It is a crime against humanity. And we're dealing with that as we speak. And this is an important thing. It has to be very clear that Gaza is the largest terror base on planet Earth, and that is in the south. But Hezbollah is the largest terrorist organization on planet Earth. So Israel is now having a military that is performing amazingly, that has to deal with, first, the largest terror base on planet Earth, and then the largest terror organization on planet Earth. These are giant missions and I guess very much mountains that we need to climb, and we need a lot of prayers, and that brings me now to the tectonic shifts that the October 7th created. Major shift of plates of society, religiosity, and so many other things. And this is probably the most important thing that on this update. And again, I would love you to share, because you need to understand what is happening, not only in Israel, but what is happening in the Middle East, but what is also happening around the world, because that which is happening right now is literally sending shockwaves to the whole world. Shockwaves to the whole world. I will start with what's going on with Israel. The Jewish people today in Israel are more resilient, united than we've ever been. Remember, October 6th, we were on the verge of civil war. October 6th, we were fighting whether Jews can even pray in Tel Aviv. October 7th came, and by October 8th, every one of us understand that liberal, conservative, left or right, we're all Jews, and everyone wants to kill us just for being Jews. The left and the liberals who were hoping for peace with peace partners on the other side woke up to the reality that the closest people that they had on the other side betrayed them. Now, let me make it very clear. Most of the people that worked in the Jewish kibbutzim next to Gaza, if all of them actually, all the Arabs that came to work there were working for Hamas, spying for Hamas. And so when the Hamas terrorists on October 7th came, they had a list of who lives where, who has how many kids, who is the responsible for security in this kibbutz. That's the first house. That's the first person they would kill. And then who has this, who has a dog, who has 5 kids, who has babies. They knew everything. We, from the interrogation, found out that they even appointed a person to be the commander on the rape of women. Rape of women was not along the way, by the way. It was planned, and there was a commander that was on that mission to make sure. And by the way, when we
okay, so they sent in a pimp commander, charming people.
Asked them, the terrorists that we captured, what's the story of raping women? And then sometimes while they raped them, they killed them. They shot them as they raped them. Sometimes they raped them after they were dead. So we asked them, what's the point? What's the story? They said, we needed to do that in order to make them dirty, and then we kill them so they will never, ever bring babies to the world because we don't want more Jews. Which, by the way, then we asked them, so why did you kill the babies? Why did you burn babies? They said, because those babies one day will be soldiers. So we need to kill them. And that brought us to the understanding that they were very much into releasing older women in the beginning, because older women cannot bring babies to the world, so they are not going to bring more Jews to the world. That's it. Diabolic. Even in the way they release someone, this is how they think. Evil, satanic, beyond what you can ever imagine. Now, again, something is going on in Israel, and it's hard for me to explain, unless you're here, it's hard for me to explain, but let me tell you something. There are two things that are happening. There is a major return of Jewish people back to Israel right now, like never before. And there is a major exodus of Israelis from hedonism, materialism, and secularism towards spirituality and belief, not believe in Buddha, but in the God of Israel. Listen, let me show you a photo. In the heart of a war zone, it was so important for the Jewish people to pray. Those soldiers they're more into praying that they brought 4 bulldozers to create a synagogue that is well protected, and they prayed right there. Look at this, the most amazing synagogue on planet Earth, made of 4 gigantic bulldozers, because the war will not stop them from praying. If that's not enough, almost every building they're entering right now where they stay, they placed a mezuzah.
Phil, is the West Bank self-ruled, or do the Jews rule the West Bank?
On the doorpost. And if that's not enough, if they know they're going to stay there for a while, they just open a synagogue in Beit Hanun. Take a look at this video from this morning. Torah scroll. We are believers, sons of believers, and we have no one to lean on but on our Father which is in heaven. Look at this. They lean on our Father which is in heaven. We have no one to trust but our Father which is in heaven. We love you, God. We love you, God of Israel. Look. Again, I'm a bit teary because you have to understand something. This country was running away from God. I mean, they were about to kill each other for a public prayer in the streets of Tel Aviv just 2 days before the massacre. On the day before the massacre, the Supreme Court it had to rule whether Jews are going to pray outdoors in Tel Aviv. And today, they are flocking to believe and to pray and to get stronger and stronger. Now, some of you might say, yeah, but they don't believe in Jesus. Yeah, but you have to first believe in God. You have to first believe in the Word of God, and that later on I can show you through the Word of God who the Messiah is. You understand there's a major shift in the Israeli society that it's hard for me to explain, of, again, abandoning hedonism and materialism and secularism and running towards the open arms of belief in God and believe in the Word of God. Yes, Judaism has a lot of superstitious things. Yes, Judaism has a lot of religious things but remember, this nation needs first to come back to God. And the Bible says, through their affliction, they will earnestly seek me. Phenomenal. What we're watching is unbelievable. But now, this is the shift that we see within Israel. What about the shift that we see outside of Israel? Let me tell you something. Jewish people around the world are roughly 30% Orthodox, 70% not just secular, but ultra secular and ultra progressive and ultra liberal. You know, if you're American, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They woke up. They woke up to understand that the professors in the university that they used to work with, that was as woke as they are, is now hating them for being Jews. They woke up to understand that the Hollywood celebrities that they used to be friends with, now they hate them just for being Jews. They woke up to understand that the people in the media and people in the academia and people in the business world, the wave of anti-Semitism is so big that finally they understand. Look, if you're a Swede and terror is inflicting Sweden, you have nowhere to go. You're Swedish. That's your country. The Jews, whether in America or in France or in Germany, they do have a place. They have the only country up around the world that is the homeland of the Jewish people. They have an option. And I'm telling you, so many of them are afraid now to walk freely in Paris and in Berlin and in London. I hear people that lives in Israel that their relatives live in those cities and they don't leave their house. In Australia and in New Zealand and in big cities in America and all across Europe, anti-Semitism is so skyrocketing. The Jewish people understand, okay, where can we go for it?
He's right. It is happening in Australia, guys. He's completely right.
And they know there's one country. So there's not only exodus from lifestyle and way of thinking, but physically, we see them now applying to come to Israel. Phenomenal. And that will affect the US elections because a major, look what we see. They understand that the far left in America hates them for being Jews. Far left, which is those that are working together with the Palestinians right now. Look what's going on. The Jewish people, for the first time in many, many years, find among the Republicans more shared values than among the Democrats. And it's unbelievable. These are things that are shaking the world. It shakes the world all over the world, in America and in Europe. And even now, they're so angry that things like that are happening that even on our chat room, we have people that are trying to hijack it. Let me block user. There you go. Okay. But let me also explain to you folks that this shift is not only happening among the Jewish people. It also happens among the civilians that are non-Jews in many of those countries. You know, the people of London wake up to understand that they're surrounded by people that hate even England. Take a look at how they desecrate the English institutions and English monuments in all of those. All the videos are on my Telegram. I don't want to waste time here, but I mean it's amazing. They place the Palestinian flag on monuments of soldiers and stuff like that. So unbelievable. We have it also in America on Veteran Day. They removed American flag and put Palestinian one on Veteran Day. Unbelievable. So people around the world wake up to understand that they have a monster outside, that it's inside, it's in their living room. And many of them are in anxiety and fear because of what is happening. They don't anymore live in a feeling that this is a safe place. So you see this anti-Semitic, very much demonic cloud that is covering the world right now, scares normative people, causes Jews to rethink where they live and move, and causes the Israelis to be strong, united, and rush to hold on to their Jewish identity and whatever they know that is Jewish, praying and reading and celebrating as Jews, rather than being part of the whole world. And it's amazing. I'm watching and seeing this happening all around the world. I will also tell you that there is a shift that is happening because of the fact that Hamas jumped the gun too early. Hamas used the only bullet that it had in the gun and shot it earlier than it should have, because the grand plan was that all the Iranian proxies, including Iran, will simultaneously attack Israel and destroy it. And what Hamas did, he awoke the giant. Now we are destroying Hamas.
The LQBTG and that, they're all sticking up for Palestine. Little do they know, Islam stone homosexuals to death, yet it's the LTB mob sticking up for Palestine. How crazy is that?
Which means Iran is losing their asset. We are going to deter Hezbollah and move them away from our border, which is also a problem for Iran. And if needed, we have to go and deal with the other Iranian proxies in Yemen, in Iraq, and Syria as well. So, and another thing you need to know is that all the grand plan that the Arabs have been working on for brainwashing the people to hate the Jews when the time comes, they're using it right now. So they're using it right now, and it's not giving them the effect that they hoped, because this is not the day Israel is being destroyed. So, quite interesting. Take a look at what the Iranians said to the Palestinians, just so you know. I mean, they were very angry with them jumping the gun. Iran said, we won't enter war on behalf of Hamas. They actually said it to the Hamas leader. Wow. Said, look, guys, you didn't tell us you're doing it. You did not inform us, and you did not wait for the day to do it with everyone else. So you're on your own. Now, we're going to make sound and noise that we are helping you from the north or from Yemen. But in reality, the IDF is inside crushing Hamas. And that's it. That's it. And it's quite interesting to see all of this. Hamas totally miscalculated this thing. And it miscalculated the Arab world. They didn't understand that nobody's going to help them if they do it by themselves. And that's what we see. Even last Saturday, there was a meeting of all the last Friday, of all the Muslim countries in the world, 57 countries, I think. And they didn't decide anything that should scare us. In fact, if anything, the Saudis and the Emiratis and the Bahrainis and even the Moroccans and Sudanese, they're going to continue the Abraham Accords, and they understand that, you know, they're not going to sacrifice the great business and security deals that they have with Israel for the Hamas. Of course, they're not going to do it.
That's good news for us.
So that's what we see. And not only that, look what happened. The Jewish people in America were not in good terms with Israeli Jews because of so many different reasons. And now all the Jews are together. Take a look at the rally, pro-Israel rally in DC a couple days ago. The largest pro-Israel rally in the history of America, with 290,000 people that were filling the street. This is not only Jews, a lot of evangelical Christians showed up there as a token of support for Israel, and it was phenomenal. And by the way, there was no violence, there was no cussing, nobody fought the police, nobody did anything. Amazing. But I will tell you, there's a lot of stuff you don't know about that time. You don't know that at least 900 Jews that arrived from Detroit to Dulles Airport, they were stuck there because the bus drivers that were supposed to take them to the mall in DC refused to drive them. 900 more Jews should have been there. Bus drivers, because they're Muslims, refused to drive the Jewish people from the Dulles Airport all the way to center of DC, to the mall area. Quite amazing thing to see. You know, as I said, right now we are finding tons of stuff, which I will probably report on a special update, because many of you, I mean, I cannot right now. I'm not allowed to share. But I want you to know, prayers work. The enemy is defeated. God is on the throne. Amazing things are happening. We need to pray for as many abductees to be found and brought back. We need to pray for that evil to be crushed. And we need to pray that throughout all of this, many will see the Messiah and be saved. And you have to understand, this is the only hope for peace in the Middle East. We need to pray, but remember, God is on the throne. God is working. God will deliver. We must understand this is a wave. This is a trial. This is a test for all of us. I believe that we live in a preview of the sheep and the goats trial that will happen at the end of the tribulation. We're not, if you're a believer, you're not going to be part of that trial. But if you're not, you will be if you survive the tribulation. But I think that if God is going to separate the nations, sheep from goats, according to how they treated the brethren of Jesus, the Jewish people, if that is so important to God, that they did the least of that to his brethren, they did it unto him, which is exactly what Joel said in chapter 3, that God will judge the nations according to what they did to his people Israel. If it's so important for God to judge nations that mishandled Israel, how much more it's important right now for a true believer who is filled with the Spirit of God, who knows the Word of God, to rise up and not be ashamed, not of the gospel and not of the promises of God for the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is still blind, but the Bible said that concerning the gospel, they are enemies, but concerning the election, they are beloved for the sake of their fathers, for the gift and the callings of God are irrevocable. They have a veil. They can't see. That doesn't mean, oh, we need to hate them. No. Paul
sooner or later, God opens Israel's eyes. We all know that, guys.
Knew there is a veil that only when one turns to Christ, this veil is removed. And that's why he says blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of Gentiles is come. So you have to understand, this is prophetic that they cannot see the Messiah, but it's also prophetic that individuals among them will turn to him. Amen. And therefore will not have to go through the tribulation. And that's because of your prayers, because of our prayers, and because of our boldness to not be ashamed of that gospel that can save the Jew first and also the Gentile. So listen, share this with as many as you can. I also...
Okay, I like Amir.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is 15 U.S. cities have been targeted, and I'm going to say I think it's probably suitcase news. And Lord, help me say the right words. Don't let me say the wrong words. Help me to bring truth to your people today. You know, we've been talking about this since 1998. And now, apparently, it's about to arrive. So let me show you what I'm talking about. First of all, a brief reminder. You recall, Leslie was shown January 22 of 06. She heard Omer ushers in Palestinian state. And I want to say, I don't know, we should see how it's spelled. And there's an Israeli guy, and you pronounce his name O-L. Well, you spell O-L-M-E-R-T, but it's pronounced Omer. So we don't know for certain what that Omer ushers in Palestinian state is. We don't know how to spell Omer. But the second thing is catastrophe hits America. Now, why is that important? One more refresher before I get into the program. 2005, former Congressman Kurt Weldon, vice chairman of the House Armed Services Committee then, uncovered a plot to set explosions in 10 cities. So he saw 10 cities. We could not get the authorities to act. Why? Because I think they are part of it. In other words, yes, I think there are organizations, there are people inside our government, inside the alphabetical agencies that are actually part of bringing down America. Why would they want to bring down America? Because they want to bring in their man, the Antichrist, And they know that America has to go down in order to get the Antichrist to rise.
That's true.
But he could not get the authorities to act. He published the information in a book entitled Countdown to Terror. I have it right behind me in the bookshelf. The 10 cities he found out were Valdez, Alaska, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, New York. I want you to remember these cities because you're about to see them in another list. New York, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Chicago, Miami, Houston. By the way, if you would like to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem, then if you'll go to prophecyclub.com, slide to the bottom, you can join what we call Fast Gap. And this is fasting and praying for our nation. We fast from Tuesday midnight to Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. every week. And each Tuesday evening, I send you an email with all the errors and everything directly from me to you saying this is what we're all praying. And this is the prayer we're all fasting and praying this week. By the way, if you'd also like to help Prophecy Club, you would also join Fast Track. Same place. Fast Track prays for Prophecy Club and the souls. Fast Gap prays for our nation. Prophecyclub.com. Anyway, in 1998, we had this guy in. He made a DVD called Russian Defector Warns America. He was the highest ranking Russian military officer to ever defect from Russia, and he made a Prophecy Club DVD called Russian Defector Warns America, which, by the way, you can watch instantly at watchprophecyclub.com. In this video, he stated that he was actually part of a team that was sent from Russia to find places to hide the 50 lost in Russia suitcase nuclear bombs that they were planning on smuggling into America. And other sources say there's 35 of these suitcase nukes that have been smuggled into America. Now, what's the difference between a suitcase nuke and what hit Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, suitcase nukes are about 1 kiloton. The big one that hit in Japan was 4 kiloton. What does it do? Well, it turns about a 10-city radius area into 10,000 degrees, and it burns everything, steel, concrete, everything, for about 10 city blocks. But it also puts a mushroom of nuclear fallout, ash, radiation up into the air, and it's basically a city killer. It doesn't kill everybody in the city, but the city's dead because everybody leaves it because of radioactivity. Also, from that point on, no one, of course, is going to buy any merchandise coming out of that area for fear it's going to be radioactive. If you have a job there, your job is gone. You have to move. You want to keep your job. It devastates. Now, here's the new information. This morning on HalTurnerRadioShow.com, look at the date. This is November the 14th. Look at the word, catastrophe. I didn't write this. Hal Turner did. Operation Catastrophe. 15 U.S. city attacks to be blamed on Hamas. Today I received information claiming Operation Catastrophe, there's that word again, is a plan for a 15 U.S. city attack, maybe a false flag, by Hamas to trigger a controlled economic collapse, complete lengthy internet outage, and war. 15 plus cities will be allegedly targeted. Airports, subway stations, banks will all allegedly be hit. One unverified source claims the following cities are allegedly among the targets, but this list is not verified. Yeah, well, we can verify the list because we got it in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. We've been talking about this since 1998. The cities were Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Santa Clara, Los Angeles, San Diego, Arlington, Alexandria, Dallas, all major Florida cities, Boston, Raleigh, Philadelphia, Detroit, Denver, Chicago, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Seattle, Tucson, and Phoenix. And there's more. All these cities are now under heavy FBI surveillance right now. Yeah, right. FBI surveillance because it's trying to stop it or trying to see that it doesn't get stopped. My guess is the latter. Another source provided a different list, also unverified, for much smaller cities due to less police protection response, all of which seem utterly ridiculous to me. Well, they don't seem utterly ridiculous to us. We've been watching for this. The other cities were Trenton, Peoria, Tuscaloosa, Flint, Lincoln, Ogden, Hershey, Silver City, I don't know where it is, Alamogordo, BC, Nashua, Duluth, Pocatello, Bozeman, and Tupelo. There's more. Another source of this information also says we're on a ticking time bomb. Assets are now in place and will be activated. Assets? What assets? We know suitcase nukes. Again, we've known this for, well, I guess this would be 25 years. 25 years ago. We've got 34 different confirmed sources saying these are coming. Can I get anybody to listen? No. Matter of fact, right now, I haven't looked today to see if we've actually had checks bouncing, but it may be happening. That's how tight we are. So if God has blessed you and you can help us, we would really appreciate it right now. Another source of this information says we're on a ticking time bomb. Assets are in place. In other words, the suitcase nukes have already been placed all over and will be activated soon. The CIA is allegedly heavily involved. Well, isn't that a surprise? My guess is they're not heavily involved. They are directly involved. Now, can I prove that? No, I can't. Can't prove the FBI is involved. Can't prove it. And if I could, I probably wouldn't be breathing right now. CIA officer James Robert Isham is allegedly the current chief of operations on the project. What? Did you catch that? I'll read it again. CIA officer James Robert Isham is allegedly the current chief of operations on the project Catastrophe. Now, does that mean he's trying to stop it? I don't think so. I think he is, if he's in it, he's probably at least a middleman at the very least. But this says he's allegedly the top guy. They call it Operation Catastrophe, not just an accident. It's also not just an accident. Let me show you. The very word catastrophe is in the prophecy given to Leslie in 2006. Catastrophe hits America. And what do they call this? Operation Catastrophe. Okay. Accident? Or maybe confirmation she's hearing from God. Let's go on. CIA officer James Robert Isham is allegedly the current chief of operations on the project Catastrophe. Previous known stations. Okay, so this is given the guy's background. Does this sound like a good guy or a bad guy? Previous known stations: Kyiv, Ukraine. Head of Internal Management and Foreign Affairs. Corporate liaison of Makpron, a cover shell company used for Ukrainian intelligence officers. Indirectly, what he's saying is this guy's dirty.
That's a bit of an oxymoron, isn't it? Ukrainian intelligence officers, not too smart for the war.
Do I know he's dirty? No, I do not. Can I say he's dirty? No, I cannot. I don't know. I mean, if I did know, I'd probably be dead. Another CIA officer, Aaron Nigel Montoya, is also allegedly involved. Current COS, I don't even know what COS is, okay? Gaza City, Palestine. Previous stations, Kabul, Afghanistan, and Baghdad, Iraq. Kind of what he's trying to hint at is this guy, his hands are dirty. His hands are in on it. Now, he didn't say that. I'm not saying that. I don't know that. But I am convinced with 34 prophecies, dreams, visions, and angel visits, they're suitcase nukes. And I'm going to show you some reasons I say that. Now, before I get going any further, we've talked about this a lot. If you want your car to start, if you want the electronics in your house not to be fried, when these suitcase nukes go off, you best have one of these installed. And you get it at empshield.com. And if you use the promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount. I have one on both of our cars. I have one on my house. And the plan is that these suitcase nukes will go off. Nobody else's car will not just start. If they have one of those electronic key fobs, it won't even open. Okay, so if you want,
Okay, if the grid goes down and you're the only one with electricity in the house because you've got an EMP saver device, yeah, that's not going to attract anyone, is it? The whole system's down, but this house with glowing lights, that's not going to be a beacon, is it? It's not a good plan.
your car to start, you want your car to open, you best get on over to EMP Shield and get you some one of these. Get them installed, one in each one of the vehicles, one in your house is my suggestion. Also, when these hit, we're going, America will never be the same. We will never, ever recover. There's going to be food shortages. What do we have? 12 different prophecies saying food shortages are coming. I recommend you go to Joseph Kitchen. What you want to do there, get yourself a machine package. That's all the gizmos to grind the wheat berries, put them into a bread machine, push about 2 hours, 20 minutes later, along with 6 other ingredients, and you have a loaf of bread. Then you decide.
Well, you can't do that unless you got an EMP device to protect your house with the electricity.
If you get the machine package, whether you want food for one person a year, 2 people, 4 people, or 6 people for a year, they're ready to ship it out. They're not even a delay. This is what fed the world for 7 years. Joseph and the Pharaoh, the world lived off of wheat for 7 years. I believe it's God's famine food, and I believe there's a famine coming. And I believe the best thing to do is get you some Joseph Kitchen wheat. josephskitchen.com. Next thing is a picture of some bread I made. As a matter of fact, now I'm fasting today because this is Wednesday. But typically my breakfast is a slice.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. That bread looks like cardboard. Does not look appetizing at all.
Bread for breakfast and one for lunch. Matter of fact, I just went to the doctor just yesterday. I could even show you the blood report. Low cholesterol, blood pressure gone down. I think it's because of bread. I also recommend you go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. You need to make sure you have some gold, silver. Look at. If you got a 501, 401k, seriously, 501c3. If you got a 401k.
Leslie, if kids have gone missing in Maui, you can look at Oprah Winfrey. She was involved heavily in Maui.
Hey, if you got some kind of retirement out there and it's in paper, Lindsay Williams says it's worth the paper it's written on. It's going to go worthless. If you've got a bunch of mattress money, you better get the mattress money into, in my opinion, gold and silver. Call these guys. They can get, look, just call them. Look, you don't have to get anything. Call them, talk. Say, okay, here's my situation. I got this much money in the bank. And I have to tell you, if you got money in the bank, you got a savings account, the word on the street is what's going to happen is, let's say you have $1,000 in the account, or let's say you have $100,000 in your account. When they go to this new standard, they take according to Maurice Sklar and Dana Coverstone, it takes a 30% haircut. In other words, your $100,000, you wake up the next morning, now you have $700,000. Whereas if you had in gold and silver, Shane Warren said that he heard the audible voice of God saying that silver is going to skyrocket far more than gold. Now, I'm going to show you in just a minute a timeline why I think it's real soon. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com, Joseph'sKitchen.com, EMPShield.com, promo code prophecy. Now I'm going to show you what I think is a good bet for the timing. So this is back in 2020, Dana Coverstone. I saw a calendar. It turned to the month of November. Now, we're in November. As I'm recording this, is November the 15th. I don't think it's happening this November. I think it's happening next November. And if you follow Prophecy Club, we've already given you a lot of good reasons why to think it probably is next November. Did I say it's next November? No, I didn't. I'm just saying next November is a very good time to look for. Okay, let's go on. I saw a calendar. It turned to the month of November and had shadows flickering all over it. What are the shadows? I think it's suitcase nukes going on. I first saw a light in the sky, a very large, bright light, then darkness. Now, shortly after this, we had Dana Coverstone come and speak to us on 2 different occasions. He'd been in my home, him and our good friends. And I asked him, did he know about the suitcase nukes? What suitcase nukes? He never heard of them, but yet he's describing them perfectly. A very large bright light, then darkness. What's the bright light? A suitcase nuke going off. Then what's the darkness? Because it sends out an EMP pulse and it fries every computer chip and it kills them. It fries them. They're dead. They're not coming back to life. You got a car that gets hit with EMP, and unless you replace every computer chip in the car, which is nigh impossible, it's never going to start again. It's a horse buggy. Tie some horses to the front of it and pull it. It's never going to start again. Very large bright light, then darkness. I began to make out through the dawn's haze and fog that many Americans were in emergency shelters. Why? Because suitcase nukes went off in potentially 35 different cities, or 35 different suitcase nukes in maybe 15 cities. There seemed to be snow on the ground, and it was this dirty gray, almost like ash. Guys, that's fallout. That is fallout. That is a perfect description from a pastor that did not know there are suitcase nukes in America. What is it going to take for people to listen? What is it going to take for you to send this out to your friends? Click like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends. Say, look, it may not.
Okay, enough of that.
With anger and told to go away. But the encouragement just kept.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
At an EMP pulse and it fries every computer chip and it kills them. It fries them. They're dead. They're not coming back to life. You got a car that gets hit with EMP, and unless you replace every computer chip in the car, which is nigh impossible, it's never going to start again. It's a horse buggy. Tie some horses to the front of it and pull it. It's never going to start again. Very large bright light, then darkness. I began to make out through the dawn's haze and fog that many Americans were in emergency shelters. Why? Because suitcase nukes went off in potentially 35 different cities, or 35 different suitcase nukes in maybe 15 cities. There seemed to be snow on the ground, and it was this dirty gray, almost like ash. Guys, that's fallout. That is fallout. That is a perfect description from a pastor that did not know there are suitcase nukes in America. What is it going to take for people to listen? What is it going to take for you?
Leslie, that's what Oprah's schools are in Africa. They're child sex trafficking rings. Oprah's as bad as you can get.
Send this out to your friends. Click like, share, subscribe, send it to your friends. Say, look, it may not happen, but this is credible information. You better listen. There were people huddled together and shivering. Why? Because it's November. Why? Because it's cold. Shivering, individuals lying on cots, suitcases all over the place, and desperate looks on the faces of most everyone. There were encouragers, that's us, in the crowds, all wearing crosses, and they stood out emotionally from everyone else because they had hope. Why? Because they knew this was coming. Why? Because they got prepared as they could get. Why? Because they're not trying to just live themselves. They're soul winners. They want to win souls. They had smiles on their faces. They were checking on people, trying to show patience and kindness, but they were at times met with anger and told to go away. But the encouragers just kept doing what they were doing despite the manifested upset of several of the shelters.
Guys, do you remember the Yugoslavian war with Sarajevo, Bosnia and Serbia and all that? When Sarajevo was put under siege, do you remember they were put under siege for a couple of years? The actual currency they bought things were with cigarettes. At first it was money and all that, but after about 3 or 4 weeks, it turned into the currency you paid for things with cigarettes. Isn't that weird? That's what happened. Not gold and silver, in other words.
Businesses were shuttered in the bigger cities. What does it take?
No way, Leslie,
I've been
really?
giving this message since 1998.
Leslie,
I've been
really?
giving this message since 1998. 25 years. And we may have checks bouncing today. Now, I think that that's saying that America ain't listening. America don't want to hear this. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's, I want to continue to stay willingly ignorant with my head in the sand. Wake me up when it hits. Well, the problem is, because they had their head in the sand, it's going to hit. Let's go on. I saw gas stations that looked as if they'd just been walked away from. Why? Because all the electricity went off and all of the cars in the area all got fried. They wouldn't even start. It needs gasoline. So they just walked away from it. I saw headlines that read shock and awe in the U.S., as well as one that read UN steps in to help the host nation. America is in deep, deep trouble.
100%.
There was a large amount of quiet over the country. Why? Because there's no electricity. There's nothing.
There's a large amount of quiet over the land. And doesn't heaven go quiet when the shit hits the fan, to put it bluntly? Pretty sure it does.
There's quiet because you take away electricity, you take away water, you take away everything, and everything in America just stops. We go back 100 years in time, and now there are a bunch of babies that don't know how to hunt and fish. They don't know how to skin a deer or how to process it or how to preserve meat. We don't know how to smoke meat anymore. We don't know how to serve. We need someone from 100 years ago to come forward to teach us how to live without electricity, without refrigerators. There's a large amount of quiet over the country, almost as have not awakened fully from a bad dream. In other words, that's people slowly waking up. The nation was fitful and suspicious and leery of what was coming next, very hesitant. Why? Because they didn't want to know this is coming, and they don't want to know what's next coming. The white figure, though, would be the angel that comes to me. The white figure appeared and said, remain braced as this calm comes before a gathering storm. That means a whole lot worse things than suitcase nukes are about to hit this nation. This is only the beginning, this is not the end. Remain braced as this calm comes before a gathering storm that recovery will have a hard time finding. Then he repeats himself. Remain braced as this calm comes before a gathering storm that recovery will have a hard time finding. Why did he repeat himself?
Let it be established with 2 or 3 witnesses.
Because he's saying in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let it be established. He's saying this thing is coming. Now let's go to another one. This is 2020, Dana Coverstone again. I saw long food lines. Why food lines? Well, I tell you why, because there ain't no food, because people didn't prepare. I saw long food lines. I saw people waiting in what seemed like hours, standing in line, not in cars throughout the nation. Why weren't they in cars? Because their cars won't start, their cars won't open, everybody's afoot, nobody has clean water, they don't
no one
have
has food.
and
Wow.
America is desperate. The nation that said, I said, a queen and no widow, and she'll see no sorrow.
This Dana Coverstone, he's got a lot of coverage out of his dreams. A lot of people trust these dreams. So this isn't the first time I've heard of him.
Is now seeing sorrow. For she saith in her heart, said a queen shall see no sorrow, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. Death, mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire.
Okay, Shawnee, good night. God bless.
Revelation 18. I saw ships and ports on both the east and west coast. They were just sitting idle. There was nothing moving at sea. Nothing. Why? Because nothing was moving in America. I saw a headline that said, the Baltic Dry Index is dead. In other words, no ships are moving. Why? Because no one's buying anything. They can't buy anything because they've been putting everything on credit. They said that.
And guys, the Panama Canal is dried up already, and so is the Euphrates. So that's going to impact on food distribution.
Nothing was moving in trade around the world. I saw what looked like shopping malls that had been converted into shelters or living quarters. Like after Hurricane Katrina, the people sheltered in football stadiums. The businesses in those shopping malls were all shuttered. Why? No one buying anything. They shuttered them all. They boarded them all up so that they wouldn't get stolen from, broken in time. They probably got stolen, broken into anyway. I saw people in cots. Why? Because they left their home. Why? Because their home had no electricity, had no food, and had no water. I saw food outreaches, people misplaced, homeless shelters. But this was not a homeless shelter. This is something like really, really bad. It happened to the people who were in shelters. I continue to see shuttered properties, people in homes wearing coats. Cold. Why is it cold? Because there's no electricity. With closed curtains, that has been a consistent vision. People inside their homes looking out at what's going on. When I look at people looking out their curtains, I see more of this dark gray snow-like stuff on the road. It's fallout. Fallout from 35 suitcase nukes hitting our nation all, if they can, all the same time, but probably definitely the same day. It wasn't pure white snow like after a fresh snowfall. It's fallout. I'm telling you, it's fallout. I saw headlines saying nationwide outages plagued the Southwest. Nationwide outages of what? That would be electricity. Another headline said Americans don't know who to blame for the darkness. Some of the darkness stretched into Canada, it stretched north into Canada, but it's not everywhere. I saw America with lights flickering. It was like the whole country outlining the United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii. Stan, what have you done? All right, since you asked, I'll just show you. That is my current electrical usage. The orange thing going up shows how much has come in from my solar system today. The purple below shows how much it has sent up to the grid. And then the purple that going across there in low areas is how much electricity my home has used. I can go out right now and flip the switch and turn off the grid and my lights will barely blink. I have, let's see at the moment, I have, gotta look here. Hang on, I got it. 22 hours and 5 minutes of backup electricity. There it is. You can get one.
That's pretty good. You gotta admit that's
hotter.
pretty good.
It depends on how much you want. Call my friend Joe, solarsurge.net. Solarsurge.net. Net. Say, Stan sent me. What can I do? And he's got a system that'll fit just about anybody's budget. All the way from just one solar panel, all the way up to a nice system. Depends on how much money you got, depends on how big your home is and how much electricity you use. Depends on you, depends on your budget. Solarsurge.net. Look, this is getting serious, brothers and sisters. If I'm right, and I'm not setting a date, if I'm right, this is probably coming November 24. We probably have 12 months before these suitcase nukes hit. Get ready. Look, you want to be standing in line, begging for food and
I've heard the name Stan Deo, but I don't know what he does.
water. You want to be shivering in your house because the electricity's off. Or do you want all of the neighbors knocking on the front door with pillows and blankets saying, can we come in? And you want to be able to say, yeah, come on in. I got food. I got clean water. And being able to take care of your neighborhood. Personally, I want to be the person helping, not the person begging.
Diana, most of them states democratically ran. I bet they are. Them are climate change states.
Look, I'm trying to say this nice. I'm trying to be nice about it. But I've been trying to be nice about it.
He just posted that up and he's posted it. See how good at links you are?
For years. And apparently a whole bunch of people out there not listening. Matter of fact, we were talking the other day. I lost $50,000 in the DFW area. We were on a major radio station for 1 year. They sent us a notice that they wanted to increase the amount that they were charging us a month. So that sent me looking. So I had them pull a computer report. That's when I discovered, okay, This is how much come in. This is how much went out. We lost $50,000 in a year trying to get this message out to people in the DFW area. Now, that's just one. That was a time we had $600,000 a month that we were spending on radio and TV. Literally. I have lost millions. I don't know how many. It probably scared me. And millions of dollars trying to get Demetrius' message and this other warning out to people that don't want to hear. They're packed.
Because they took his Prophecy Club channel down because he got 3 strikes.
Sisters told them they don't have to worry about this. There's going to be a pre-trib rapture. We're going to get sucked into the air. And that bubble is soon to look at. Suitcase Luke's hit. All the pre-tribbers are gone. All the pre-trib prophecy teachers are eating humble pie. And Michael Boldea said if they only get beat up, they got off easy. I think some of them, it might be a whole lot worse. Let's go on. I saw vultures with food hanging out of their mouth. Why? Because after 3 days and the refrigerators went warm, you had to throw all the rotten food out. These vultures were heavy and fat, rotting with food hanging out of their mouths outside depression. As a creature with a face mask and a smile, but it was choking people, pushing them down to the ground. Here it is. I saw the St. Louis Arch. I saw people standing under it, wearing very expensive business suits and expensive watches. At their feet were large suitcases, briefcases that reminded me of nuclear suitcases.
Vast, we get that guy from Pine Gap. What's his name? Valiant Thor. He shows up every 3 or 4 months for a couple of minutes. He reckons he works at Pine Gap. Remember him?
He said that when he didn't even know about suitcase news. Suddenly, all of their alarms went off. They grabbed their briefcases, jumped into the black SUVs, drove off in all directions. Why? To go set them off. I've got another one here. I've got another one, and 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 another one. I got lots of them here. 33 different dreams, visions, angel visits, audible voices telling us suitcase nukes are coming.
Yeah, I knew I recognized the voice.
At the most, we have 12 months to get ready.
Yeah.
But if they're cutting off Berkey water filters, and I guess they have, who says they're not going to be cutting off some of this other stuff? If you've got money in the bank, you best be calling cornerstoneassetmetals.com. You better let them know. You better talk to them. If you've got a car that has computer chips in it, you best go to EMP Shield and get one of those devices. Use that promo code PROPHECY, helps your Prophecy Club, but also gets you a $50 discount. Guys, we are running out of preparatory time. 2 Chronicles 20:20. Believe God's prophets, and so shall you prosper.
Today, we live in unsettling times. Have you ever wondered what you're going to do when food is no longer on the shelves? I'm Leslie, owner and founder of Joseph's Kitchen, and I want to show you how to make healthy, homemade, whole wheat bread for only a few $100s.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You're the one thing I can't get enough of.
That you definitely want to hear, folks. Got an interesting video for you guys today. We're going to be talking about a number of things going on in Hollywood and also the music industry that you definitely want to hear, folks. Actually, we're going to be talking about a guy who was one of the top in the charts back about a little over a decade ago. And something he recently said on video, which was pretty surprising. His name is Shane Lynch. He's from the band called Boyzone. They got like 100 million views on, I think, a couple videos. We're going to get into something that he recently said that was just very surprising. Also, of course, want to get into some of these music videos of recent, some of the things that they're saying and, you know, various types of messages in these videos. And actually a lot more, folks. We're going to get into also Matthew Perry a little bit. Did you know that Jerry Springer, he now is gone as well this year, recently deceased as well, a little bit earlier this year. What's amazing is like the only person I really heard about was Matthew Perry, pretty much. And a lot of these other, there's actually a number of celebrities that are gone this year. We'll get into that a little bit. Also talk a little bit about Kat Von D and other things as well. So let's get into this. So I wanted to mention, first, I wanted to get into a little bit about what this one, what Matthew Perry.
That's 800 stories. Are you serious?
He had to say some interesting things. Okay. How he wanted to become an actor, and he actually prayed for it, folks, a long time ago. And he thought it would solve all of his problems and make him happy and things like that. When in reality, it didn't. And it led him into essentially the problem that he had already been experiencing. So he was actually trying to find a way to fill a hole in his life. Whatever holes you seem to be filling up, keep opening back up. Maybe it is because you're always trying to fill a spiritual hole with a material thing. Now, he thought back in the old days when he first was trying to, get a part in a TV show or a movie, that once he's famous, he'll be happy. This was sort of his mindset. And he says that right here. In 1986, I was pretty sure fame would change everything. I yearned for it. More than any other person on the face of the planet, I needed it. It was the only true thing that could fix me. I was certain of it. Living in LA, you would occasionally bump into a celebrity, or you'd see Billy Crystal at the Improv, make notes of Nicolas Cage in the next booth, and I just knew they had no problems. In fact, all their problems had been washed away. They were famous. So this guy essentially wanted to become an actor, believe it or not, because he was trying to fill a hole of emptiness in his life. I mean, this is literally what he's saying. This is literally what he's saying. And he thought that these guys had no problems. These actors and actresses were completely free of problems. So what did he do? He said a prayer some time ago. And he talks about it in this interview. Let me play this really quick.
I knelt down and said, God, you can do whatever you want to me. Just please make me famous.
So he knelt down to actually ask, can you make me a Hollywood star? 3 weeks later, he is auditioning for the TV show Friends and gets the part, right? So he obviously becomes famous. He gets what he asked for, but he thinks that this is the answer. And I guess this is really interesting because this is kind of like a parable of his life playing out. So I actually think this is very interesting how he was trying to fill this.
Diane, can you send me that to Skype as well, please?
Void, of course, in his life. He thought being famous and rich would do it. He asked for it. He gets what he wants. And it's almost like a parable playing out. You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of like you get what you asked for, but it may not be what you really wanted, right? So then he ultimately thinks this is going to make him happy. But in reality, he talks in the interview about how he was not happy when he was an actor. And it's almost like he can't even, it's like a shadow of a memory of that time. And he said that the man was a very unhappy person during that time. So when he was an actor, when he was famous, he was very unhappy. And he turned to things like alcohol and other things. And he talked about how this didn't make his life better. And he goes in here and says this here, alcoholics like myself want to drink for the sole purpose of feeling better. Well, that's at least true for me. All I ever wanted was to feel better. I didn't feel good. I had a couple of drinks and I felt better. But as the disease progresses, it takes more and more and more and more and more, and it keeps going. So as you can see, this entire thing, his entire life was trying to make himself feel right, happy, full, just,
Thanks, Doll. I just got it.
And then, of course, it came to this position or part where he's asking for help. He whispered, "Show me that you are here. God, please help me." And then he says he felt something like the air transformed into a small golden light. I kneeled down. Light slowly began to get bigger and bigger until it was so big it encompassed the entire room. It was like I was standing on the sun. I had stepped on the surface of the sun. What was happening, and why was I starting to feel better? Why was I not terrified? The light engendered a feeling more perfect than the most perfect quantity of anything I have ever taken. Feeling euphoric now, I did get scared and tried to shake it off, but there was no shaking this off. It was way, way bigger than me. My only choice was to surrender to it, which was not hard because it felt so good. The euphoria had begun at the top of my head. Going down, I must have sat there for 5, 6, 7 minutes, filled with it. So clearly this was his first encounter, of course, with God. And so, I mean, that's a really interesting story about his life, you know. Looking back, this really is kind of an interesting message that should be given out to everybody, I think, honestly. It really shows you how you think, you know what you want, you know what will make you happy, but in the end, you chase it your entire life and you find out it was not what you wanted and it's not what would make you happy. Of course, he loved being an actor. There's nothing wrong with that. It was just him thinking it would somehow satisfy everything in his life, and it didn't do that. At any rate, I think that's really amazing. Now, of course, we have some other stuff. We're going to be talking about a lot of things here, folks. I want to talk a little bit about Kat Von D in a minute here. But before we do so, I got to mention Food Supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description, folks. I think it's $7.97 for 3 months worth, and 2 weeks worth is $127. Considering all the stuff going on around us, folks, and actually we have some new stuff going on right now that I've been talking about in other videos. We have cyber attacks happening left and right of recent, within the last week, several. One of the biggest telecoms in Australia, their port.
On Fiverr, you can find high-quality freelancers for a variety of services, including a business plan.
Port Authority. I mean, there's like so many, folks. And now it's just Australia. There's actually a lot of other ones. We have the biggest bank in the world.
The biggest what?
China's ICBC had a cyber attack as well. We have all these bizarre things going on with deposits not landing in accounts and banks running out of money and not being able to pay. Makes you really wonder what's going to happen there. Of course, you got all these WARs going on that can turn into a world version. You have also supermarkets getting completely ransacked in cities like Chicago and it's closing up. Where you have food deserts where you can't even go and get food very easily in some places. Now, you're going to definitely want to get this just in case, folks. Link is in the description. Of course, also, gold and silver's link below, appmex.com. Definitely want to get this considering all that's going on with the currency. The prices are actually low right now. Definitely check that out. Also, my website, GR Videos. I got lots of awesome videos over there. I just uploaded.
Good night, boy. God bless.
Tons of videos. I think I uploaded 15. I uploaded 15 videos over there last night. I'm doing this every week. I did 20 the week before. So that's like, I don't know, that's like 70 a month I'm uploading over there, folks. And some of them end up in the free section. I think 2 or 3 of them this week ended up in the free section. I think it's 3. Yeah, 3. These 3 are new. Although this one's from 2014 and this one's from 2016. This one's very recent. It's from about a week ago. But in the categories, I have tons of new videos. I put most of them over here. This is an hour-and-a-half podcast right here. We've learned some new stuff about Gilgamesh. Unbelievable stuff, folks. We're doing these huge deep dives and actually solving things that we couldn't solve back in the old days, folks. We're figuring out things. You're going to definitely want to check it out. Ancient history, what's going on around us, science, just every topic, even pterodactyls, folks. We're talking about everything over here, folks. Link is in the description. Go check it out. $4.95 a month. First month is free. Let's get back to the video. So we got lots of stuff to talk about here, folks. We have Jerry Springer. He's now gone. I didn't even know about this. There's so many actors and actresses. You got this guy from Law and Order. He was one of my favorite actors on Law and Order. Richard Belzer. I loved his sarcastic, direct way that he talked, which is pretty much how I talk. Just very sarcastic, very direct. That's kind of attitude he had. Suzanne Summers from Three's Company. It's a great show back in the really old days. Of course, Matthew Perry, which we just talked about, and his life. Be interesting to look into some of these guys. Of course, this guy was pretty much a circus sideshow. I don't know, man. Maybe that's why I didn't hear anything about him. But this guy was kind of like the WWE of talk shows back in the early 2000s. I mean, he had the most ridiculous stuff on his show back in the old days. It's kind of like YouTube in the old days or something. Of course, you had this guy who's in a lot of action movies, Lance Reddick. And there's others as well. There's actually a lot of people. But those are some highlights of some of the people this year that are gone. And there's actually quite a few. There's like about 50. But those are some of the ones that I thought were important, that I thought I remembered. But of course, let's get back into some other stuff. Kat Von D, she recently professed her, of course, faith. I think it was about a month ago. Wasn't it about a month ago that happened, where she got baptized, right? And what she was talking about in this interview, which has almost got 1 million views at this point, is basically, well, most people actually had a good response to her. Most people were, supportive, happy for her. But there were a few people putting some pretty bad comments on.
Bowel cancer takes more lives than breast, prostate, or skin cancer. So everybody aged 50 to 70.
Underneath her Instagram post here, folks. And she's talking about how it really, it really did make her feel not good, and it actually really affected her husband. Her husband's sort of on the fence about this whole thing, about believing. And he almost felt like, the way some of these people attacked her in the post was just really a big turnoff. I mean, just saying, oh, you're just a fake, you're a fraud, you're not real, stuff like that. And why do people do that, do they know her heart? Do they know really if it's genuine? I think the fact that she's continuing on and still talking about it and going on and doing huge, interviews and stuff like that about it is proof that it's genuine. I mean, if it wasn't genuine, she'd be out, already doing stuff the wrong way or something, right? But she's out and about making interviews, talking about a change in her life and how important it is to believe in God. All right. Of course, we should be not judging by appearance, but with a correct judgment. Not just looking at a person, how they look on the outside. Obviously, she was this tattoo artist. And actually, she just removed a number of tattoos, apparently. She couldn't actually remove them the way you usually do because of some condition she has, but she had to blacken a lot of them out on the side of her. Things that don't represent her anymore that she had tattooed on her side. Of course, I would say or classify some of these comments people are making as unwholesome talk. It's really interesting because a lot of people just assume this is like swear words or something. But ironically, I mean, that's the irony of our society, don't say swear words, but you can say mean stuff about people as long as you sound nice about it. You know what I mean? As long as you say with nice words, right? I used to call this white collar backbiting or something like it, corporate world or something. Just kind of having like a fake comment, like, oh, you look nice today, but they mean the exact opposite, right? Right? They're saying it sarcastically to you. Making a jab, well, it sounds like a compliment, but they're actually saying the opposite, right? Of course, it's by grace we are saved, folks, and it's a gift of God. So you can't just you don't look at the outer, but you look at the fruit. This is how you can know for sure. But it's not through works, of course, that we are saved. And so I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. But actually, there's a lot more. What's really interesting is this interview here that I saw on Nick Jones' channel. This is of a famous music artist from about 13 years ago. He had some huge hits. Shane Lynch from Boyzone, an Irish band. He's got I think they got some songs with like 80, 100 million views on YouTube. Back in the old days, I mean, now today it doesn't sound like a lot. I mean, well, it is still a lot, but I mean, like you'll get 1 billion views on some videos these days. But back 13, 14 years ago, YouTube was not as popular as it is today. It didn't have as many people on it. 100 million back then is probably like 500 million today. So it's quite a few views. So he was pretty prominent back then, but he had some really interesting things to say about the music industry, things that we've talked about here on my channel, things that are pretty jaw-dropping.
Pretty bad.
He's just saying it straight-faced. That's why the interviewer keeps saying, you mean literally? You're not figurative. And like she keeps asking this over and over because it's hard for her to swallow what he's saying just straight-faced. Let's play a little bit of this.
I played this yesterday on something, guys. Well, I watched this yesterday. It's pretty stunning.
This small portion of this interview, I promise.
By all means, it's not. But majority of it there is to take you away from Christ. 100% take you away from Christ.
In terms of the lyrics, and is that what you mean? Or do you mean the industry itself, people, the big players in the industry?
Both, lyrically and both big players. Both. I've been in rooms at the top of the top, which albums are prayed over demonically. Music is prayed over.
He said demonically, folks. So he's talking about satanic type, of course, things. And she goes on to ask, like I said, he's saying this really straight-faced. Like, he's not like he's serious, obviously. Now let's see what she has to say.
Demonically. And that goes out to the world, goes out to the radio stations, goes out to the public. And when you see that stuff and know that stuff, it's frightening.
What do you mean by that, Shane? Prayed over demonically?
So rituals, ceremonies, everything to bring.
So like literally, he's saying this straight face, folks. He's saying this directly to her. And obviously, this guy's got a huge reputation. I mean, he's got a huge band. They still make money off their music. Obviously, he has a vested interest in maintaining that. But he's more interested in just telling the plain truth. Unlike maybe some other music artists who might be concerned this could hurt their sales or it could hurt something like that. He's just telling you the truth. That in some cases, this stuff was happening. Some cases, he goes on to say it wasn't every album. It's not every music album. It's just certain ones. All right, let's play a little bit more.
To give light to the devil, to Satan. It's a satanic music industry. That's majority of what it is.
Do you mean figuratively, or do you mean literally you've been in...
Literally, yeah.
It's like, are you serious, bro? Really? You're not talking figuratively here, right?
And can you share what those albums were? Were they your albums?
No, they weren't our albums, no. They were not boys' own albums. So that's what I mean by not every music is that. But it was on the stepping stone to that. So you're going back to the 1993s into 2000s. And then if you look at what the music is today, the industry is today, for all your Simon Smiths to your Dojo Cats to your Beyoncés they are so deep. Demonic, it's unbelievable.
Right. So he's talking about Beyonce. I mean, like even back in the old days, it'd be Madonna probably. I mean, it's clearly, you can see with their concert, it's very, very, very obvious and direct. Okay, and I'm going to show you some examples. He just mentioned Doja Cat, which actually is an interesting example. Doja Cat's a very interesting example because I think it backfired in their case with Doja Cat. It actually backfired. This was one of the first times I've seen it really backfire, where they're putting out something pretty dark. As you can see, you got the eye here, you got this hand coming up, and the next scene, of course, showing essentially like, oh, look, who's in control, folks. At this point, obvious, direct symbolism, 2 + 2 = 4 here, folks, not rocket science. But actually what's interesting is if you look at the comment section underneath the video, there's a lot of people saying things that are basically making it backfire completely on them. Thanks, Doja, for reminding me to always pray every night. 117,000 thumbs up. Oh, maybe I should add one. Maybe I can make 118,000 there. There we go. All right. Thanks, Doja, for making me lock all the doors, closet, and everything in my house. You got all these like comments like, oh, this is interesting because it looks like maybe some of the comment section changed a little bit.
Spend $30 on Amplify Premium Fuels for your chance to flip to win up to $100 Ample cash instantly.
Give the gift of invention.
But yeah, dude. Yeah, because it was much more. There was a ton of comments before that were like this. Tons, almost all of them. And that's another thing. Sometimes you'll see where they'll mysteriously, some comments will disappear that were very popular. Now you got is these 114.5. You got a 12K here right here. So that was interesting. And that one's from 2 months ago as well. So there's that one. But
Okay, what YouTube does, if you've got a YouTube, something up on YouTube that's really good and it's Christian orientated, if you leave good comments, YouTube will delete the good comments. My Wizard of Oz decode, people who make really good comments on it, they completely delete the comments.
there's a number of them about going to church and things like that. I wonder what happened. Is there any more? Okay, here we go. There's actually a lot more than this. They must have got deleted because there was ones with like 100,000 thumbs up on this. Okay, there were 100,000. There was like 100,000 on ones like that. Apparently, someone didn't like that comment. Right? So that's interesting. I hadn't even looked at this in a long time. When did this video come out? 2 months ago. So someone's playing with the comments. Interesting. They don't want you to think certain things, folks. Don't want you to go to church. What? We don't want them to talk about stuff like that. We put this in a religious, ritual. We want the evil, right? That's what they're saying, I'm not saying necessarily that's what happened with Those Are Cats, but it's interesting because it seems to be the kind of song, and he mentioned that particular group in his interview. You have also this one. This is a recent one. Megan Thee Stallion. The song Cobra came out 11 days ago. Obviously, this was actually in Doja Cat's. I think in the beginning it showed eyes like this, if I remember correctly. Of course, here she is literally walking out of a snake in a garden. That looks a little familiar. Kind of like Eden or something there. Got some rather curious symbols. I think you've seen that symbol before. Then, of course, we had ones in the past like Billie Eilish. I don't know if you guys ever seen this here, but I'm not going to play it. But if you watch it, what ends up happening is she bends backwards and starts sticking her tongue out, and it looks very, very much not like something a human can do. I mean, look, for one, that's very difficult to put your back like that. But I mean, she's standing completely normal, like as if there's no difficulty in doing this. And then she starts. It just looks, when you watch it, it's extremely. It doesn't look human. It doesn't look normal. Okay, even a gymnast, I think, would have a difficult time putting themselves in that position and looking the way it looks, because it doesn't look natural. All right, you can say let's just you can just say it's just like her doing that, but I kind of doubt it. I really kind of doubt it. I feel like there's more going on there, and a lot of people say that she's obviously something's taken her over. Probably. The way it looks, if you watch it, and I'm not going to play it. Like I said, I don't know if there's a copyright or anything. I'm not going to play that one. But anyway, you get the idea. So there's a lot of stuff like that. And she was one of the people, too, that had a song about Lucifer that came out, and they put it at the top of YouTube's trending. Right? And, of course, it seems like a perfect candidate for this kind of stuff as well. Perfect candidate for what he was talking about in this interview. And this is what he's talking about. He said Beyonce, he said Doja Cat, he said all these type of groups. He didn't mention Billie Eilish or Lil Nas X, but those are pretty obvious ones as well. Their songs were put at number one on trending, talking about the devil, not rocket science. 2 + 2 = 4. You know what I mean? It's not rocket science, man. I mean, he goes from literally riding a horse to being in hell with the devil. And
on Fiverr, you can find high-quality freelancers for a variety of services, including building an e-commerce website.
And I'm not even going to describe it because I'm sure you guys have seen it with Lil Nas X. Singing a really innocent song to that. It kind of reminds me of some of these other famous musicians that were once, Disney actors or some actresses that became music, like Miley Cyrus. She's another example of this kind of where she was looked like an innocent country singer. Next thing you know, her head shaved and she's on a wrecking ball. You know, that was like probably 10 years ago. But I mean, that's like another example. I mean, maybe that's not one of them, but it's just really kind of odd how that stuff is, right? So, Henry, I think you get kind of the idea. I guess you can pretend like it's all normal. I don't think so. Okay, you can pretend all you like, but you know, like the old saying, "Where there's smoke, there's fire," right? So, at any rate, there's that. But actually, there's a lot more. It's really interesting when you have all these movies come out that start to have some success. We have a certain studio, Angel Studios, that put out a number of things very recent that have had great success in the last couple of years. And then for some strange reason, we have Jay-Z put out a movie called The Book of Clarence to essentially make fun, of course, of the King of Kings, to make fun of him. So, and of course, Jay-Z is well known for being directly against, of course, the faith. He literally says it in his songs. He talks about the King of Kings in his song right here, saying he can't save you. Life starts when you leave, of course, the church. This is what he says in his song. Of course, he wears shirts with Crawley on it. And actually, we're getting into great detail about some of what they were talking about in those old days and how they're trying to bring it to pass. And actually fitting all the pieces together over on our website, on my website, GR Videos. Our next podcast, actually the one we just did recently, was covering this as well. Let me see if I can find that real quick. So here's actually a number of in my GR video series. Let's get on the screen a little bit better, where I cover some of this stuff. And we're getting really deep diving in and fitting all the pieces together on stuff going on, folks, in our culture and why it happens. And also a lot of other stuff, ancient history, Gilgamesh. We're talking about the Vatican, a lot of other stuff as well. We cover a lot of different topics. Andrew, you're going to definitely want to check it out. Link is in the description. I kind of want to know what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.
Okay, guys, going to switch to Paul Begley because Mike's on soon.
Incredible. His father, who worked very high in intelligence, and so Dave has tremendous insight, information, internal information. Like I said, Stan's a former FBI agent, worked on the Mark of the Beast technology, how to put scans in that right hand and in the foreheads, and that was 1972. So how far are they now? Yeah, these guys are just incredible. And like I said, Colonel David Giammona, 32 years, U.S. Army colonel. He wrote the book along with Troy Anderson, Military Guide to Armageddon. Incredible information that he's going to bring forward. He and Troy. Troy's my co-author.
Hey, Barry, good to see you, mate.
Just wrote, which is coming out. It's available now if you go to Amazon.com. We wrote the book Revelation 9/11. A vision that God gave me, and then we did research. It took 2 years for us to put this together. It's the most comprehensive book of its kind. Matter of fact, we got endorsed. We got endorsed by Kevin Sorbo, the famous actor. You guys know he's been in like 40 different films. He was Hercules in that series. I can't remember what all the movies he's been in. You can Google it. But recently he was in God's Not Dead. He was in, these famous films. He read the book and endorsed it, put a big endorsement on it. Jim Baker put a big endorsement on it. Jimmy Evans, some of you know who Pastor Jimmy Evans is. Huge. He has churches. He has massive ministry. Love this book. He endorsed the book. He's a prophecy expert himself. Jack Moss, one of the first mega pastors in the history of America. He's right now an associate director at Christian Broadcasting Network, CBN, and the 700 Club. He's endorsed it. It's just on and on and on. Okay, I can't even think of Alex Newman, who's worked with Epic Times. I mean, all these people. Because what we did is we decided to not only go by what the Bible says, but to find the proof of what's going on right now that matches it. And we put it together, and we will destroy the woke agenda in this book. We will show you all the things that Eliot was doing. He crawled out of that bottomless pit, as it says is happening in Revelation 9:11, and what's happening today. So anyway, I want you to get a copy. I want you to get a ticket, I'm saying, to Invasion America. And I didn't even bring up Mike Around the World's name. He's in it for an hour. Okay? I mean, can you imagine the intel you're going to get out of this? This is the one webinar a year. This is the webinar where you get more intel from the guys that are tapped in. Hagman, Deo, Hodges, Giamona, Anderson, Mike Around the World. These guys are tapped in with the intel. Then I got you three great pastors. Bishop Larry Ragland, Pastor Steve Leidig, Pastor Melvin Whittington, and Apostle Larry Shelby. I got four. And it's incredible. It's incredible. And I'm in it too, so that's five. And then, we got three women who are incredibly, you won't believe this, the one whose husband was murdered because of his intel information. And you just get the ticket. Don't miss it. Get the ticket and be ready. Tonight would be a great time. And before Mike comes, and Mike's going to be here in 2 minutes, if you haven't had a chance to give your tithe and offering tonight, let's do that now. We got 2 minutes. Mike will be here in a couple minutes. Let's do that now. If you'd like to give, please do that. Help us. I'm going to show you something.
Paul, give me your bank account. I'll give you $3,000. I can't wait.
Okay, I got two things to show you tonight. I got to show you. I got to first show you William. He said, I can trust God. He makes a way. William likes to color pictures and send them to me. I appreciate it, William. You're a good man, good young man, loves the Lord, and he loves to send me his pictures that he colors and stuff. And so
that's pretty cute.
I really appreciate that. I love that young man's faith. Then I want to show you Millie. Bless her heart. Millie died just recently up in Canada. There she is. She came to see me. She was 93 years old, living in a nursing home. She heard I was preaching in Ontario, Canada, in Brampton, for a weekend up there. And she got a lady to come and get her out of the nursing home and drive 9 hours across Canada just to be there one night to meet me. She'd been watching me for 5 years in the nursing home. A faithful partner. She was a faithful supporter. I've talked on the phone with her 2 or 3 different times for an hour at a time. She was filled with wisdom. I love this lady. A beautiful, beautiful soul. And she came to see me. She went on to be with the Lord. And her friend wrote a beautiful card and just such kind words. How she loved me and Heidi. How she thanked me for preaching the gospel and reaching souls and bringing them into the harvest. And she reminds me of my grandmother who went on to be with the Lord. But this lady was 94 years old. She came to see me. She was 92 or 3? Maybe she was 95 when she died. She might have been 92. I think she was 92 right here. Looks great, doesn't she? She's better than I do. Praise God. Well, I can promise you, where she's at tonight is where I want to go, to be with Jesus. To be with Jesus. Mike Around the World is going to join us here any moment. Stan Dale has already met with us tonight, blow our minds a little bit with information that he has acquired about Jared Kushner and also about Mohammed bin Salman. But I won't say nothing else. You have to listen to his presentation. The interview I did with him yesterday that's going to be on Invasion America is incredible. Stan is an incredible guy. Mike Around the World is going to join us any second. So get your coffee. Get your coffee. Calm down, everybody. Calm down.
Oh, Diane, he didn't do us a song. Where's his song?
Because we're living in the end times. What's going on? Mike's going to talk to us. The brightest gamma ray explosion in history. The brightest, most powerful gamma ray explosion ever known happened and has affected our ionosphere. It's fried. I don't know what all it's done. Mike's going to help us. Joining us from somewhere around the world, Mike from around the world. Mike, how you doing tonight?
God bless you, Pastor Paul. I'm doing okay.
Great. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy man. And we're so glad
You
to
could
have
say
you.
that.
Yeah, I'd say that.
It's good.
Oh, God bless you, Mike. Mike, okay, the brightest gamma ray explosion of all time, scrambling the Earth's upper atmosphere, pushing down it says, the ionosphere. It is so bright, they're calling it the boat, brightest of all time.
Yeah.
They're saying that this thing did some serious damage, maybe to our ozone layer. It happened 2 billion light years away, and it's finally arrived. So I was thinking about and look, we had a tsunami on the coast of Brazil, came out of nowhere. We've had a volcano, Mount Etna has erupted. We have the super volcano under Italy is unbelievably shaking and quaking. There was an island from a volcano that erupted, just formed a brand new island off the coast of Iwo Jima. They're in Japan. And Iceland has just sunk 3 feet today and cracked open the split hills. They're expecting 4,000 people been evacuated. I'm just wondering, Mike, is this gamma ray thing got anything to do with all of this activity on the sun and everything going on? Help us understand this gamma ray thing.
Well, that gamma ray it actually happened many millions of years ago. We're just now seeing the effects. I believe that India, they actually caught it, and it set off. Actually, people who have home weather systems, their lightning detectors probably went off.
Really?
But this thing was powerful. It was powerful. It was the biggest one they have observed so far. It was, I believe it lasted 828 seconds or something like that.
Wow.
Somewhere around that thing. So yeah, it did affect the upper atmospheres, coming down to the lowest, and it caused some mass differences in the atmosphere. So, but we were blessed that it was far enough away that it did not, swipe us or just not part of our atmosphere off. The problem is they detect these things, Pastor Paul, at least a few times per day.
No, I didn't know that.
A few times per day. Normally they're alerted by neutrino detectors, which are buried. These are laboratories deep into the earth. And of course, this one was pretty powerful. And it somewhat caught everybody off guard. I believe that's why they wrote the article in the first place. It caught everybody off guard. So it disturbed our atmosphere for about, I believe it was 6.5, 2 hours or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of energy from that.
Is there a lot of UV rays that come with that? I mean, radiation?
Well, because it's so far away, you're dealing with radiation on a pretty big spectrum, right? So a lot of gamma, obviously, but everywhere within that wavelength range, you're gonna have energy emissions, that will affect things. And of course, they have satellites that detect that, and things inside the Earth, and the ionosphere is very, it's actually picking up density by itself anyway, well, from incoming galactic cosmic rays. So yeah, it was a doozy. It was the biggest one they ever observed, but it's not going to be the biggest. It by no means it's not going to be the biggest. They suspect that the Earth has. Now, this is the biggest one they have observed.
Right.
That's a very important term, which means there have been some they have not observed that have caused catastrophic damage to the earth.
Really?
Right?
Really?
And so, yeah, one of the things to note here is these things, they're happening all the time, right? There's no indicator that's going to tell us we're going to get hit by another catastrophic one. That will do. If we, for example, if we get hit by one, say it was a bit closer, right? And there's an effective field range for that. But if we got hit closer, whatever side of the earth it would have hit, and we're talking about 2/3 of the earth, it would have fried 2/3 of the earth. It would have burnt the entire surface of the earth.
Whoa!
It would have affected the sun in a massive way, right? Because sometimes stars are told they are sending this hyper mode, right? When they come in line with these things, and it could have damaged everything in its path. So, but it was far enough away that the energy had dissipated over millions of years before it hit us. That means this thing actually happened a long time ago. Right?
2 billion.
It
says 2 billion.
Light years away.
2 billion light years. I don't know what that means.
And that means 2 billion years ago, right?
Yeah.
This thing went on.
Yeah.
Their estimation. That's an estimation.
Right.
There's no way they can be sure. That's an estimation.
Right.
But you're looking at power dissipation. That's just a lot of power gone.
Did it affect the sun? Did it affect the sun, Mike?
They will all, if it affects our ionosphere, you better believe it affected the sun. You better believe that. So don't be surprised if within, was it 14 hours or something like that, whatever, if there's a process of helium and hydrogen within the sun, it'll go through a smaller process. Don't be surprised if we have some very different solar activity from this. But here's the problem. Just like a gamma, just like a magnetar, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which is a star killer. It's very difficult to tell if one is close enough to have gotten you. They're already scared of a magnetar they know about that's going to give us a blow.
Well,
2020.
Are they afraid of black holes from this? Or no?
No, if they hit us, Ashball's going to knock our atmosphere off. Nobody's going to breathe. Everything will burn up and boil. All right, everything will boil and burn up, or at least big parts of the planet. We've had 4 vitrification events on this planet, which means the topsoils were turned into glass 4 different times on this planet. Not just one time. Most people find the glass in the Middle East or something like that near India. And they say, well, this happened millions of years ago. No, there are 4 episodes of this. 4 episodes. And so, we just never know. It could fry an entire country and leave everything else alone. It just depends on what angle, the Earth is at during the time. What angle this thing, the rays were coming out of us, coming at us at.
Could it? Now, let me ask you a question. We've got this Sunday night. We had a rogue tsunami. It was about 3 foot, 4 foot tall. It crashed into Laguna, Brazil. There was no earthquake. I mean, and not that we know of it. Was there a volcanic eruption or something happened?
Guys, we have a severe problem right now.
Okay.
It's a severe problem. First of all, Iceland, right, is not the place. You don't want Iceland to have an eruption. Everybody should remember last time it erupted and how many scientists actually covered it. Everybody should remember that. Everybody should remember some of the documentaries or whatever they were playing.
I don't know if you
associated with Iceland.
I don't know if you can see this picture if it's too much delay.
I don't have eyes. I don't have eyes right now.
I have a picture. It says, "What's going on with the volcanic eruption in Iceland?" And you have the city of Grandavik, 4,000 people. They've been evacuated, and right here it's showing you the street is just broken. I mean, it's not just broke. There's a rip that comes through here. It leaves this asphalt 3 foot difference in height from the crack. and this thing went 9 miles. It split hills. They're having hundreds of earthquakes every night.
Yeah, that's not even begun yet. We have a major problem, Pastor Paul.
Okay.
Iceland sits on the 2 tectonic plates, right?
I knew he'd get into Iceland. I hope he gets into Italy as well.
Sits on the plate boundary, North American plate boundary, Eurasian plate. The 2 fracture zones involved in this indicate, because you're looking at a massive hole. You might as well say a hole in the earth right underneath Iceland going into the Atlantic. Remember, there's a crack in the Atlantic.
Yes.
Right?
You've been
and I can tell you right
yes.
now, that crack in the Atlantic is the beginning of the end. Nobody's going to close it. It's not going to close. It's still out nickel and everything else. A brand new continent is about to rise out of the Atlantic Ocean. It's going to happen expediently. So we're in bad shape. But these plate boundaries, right? They're having these huge plate shifts underneath them in the oceans. Now, right now, the ocean water kind of cushions the blows that normally wouldn't be, would be catastrophic up top. But the problem is you're dealing with magma that has built up too much. It's never built up this much. Never. There are, if Yellowstone is an example, think of about 98 Yellowstones stacked on top of each other. That's what you're dealing with Iceland.
Wow.
Okay.
No, Mike.
That's what you're dealing with. That's the best, that's about the best example I can give, right? But they're constantly being fed magma. And now that 2 breaches have been detected, the heat patterns are totally different. They're different now. And the magma flow is now channeling up in different places. So even today, just a little bit ago, there were land swells out there. When it goes, Pastor Paul, I'll tell you something about Iceland.
Okay.
Iceland starts to go. If it starts to go, that means that the earth has weakened in these where there was, lots of rock, mountain-sized divisions between magma chambers. They're gone. They're eaten away in 1 month. They were eaten away. In fact, the estimation is what will be the I believe they said half the size of Australia. If we had a mountain half the size of Australia, magma ate through that in 1 month, right? It's gone. It's molten, and it's losing its structure underneath Iceland.
So you're saying magma is rising so fast, it's eating away at the
soil,
depth
everything. Everything.
Wow.
The crust. I mean, it's working its way to the top, right? It's
everything. It's eating through everything. Now remember, you're dealing with a bunch of Yellowstones stacked on top of each other, right? Going down to pure magma, going down to the mantle, right? In that one place, you're looking at two plates that are constantly active in that that region. Anyway, I mean, right there in Iceland is divided with of course the Eurasian and American plates. And they're constantly moving. Well, guess what? They're going to be moving twice as fast.
Yeah, Barry, he had Stan Dale on apparently.
Right. You're talking about a place that's moving at what? It grows. Iceland grows 10 centimeters per year, or something like that. It grows.
Well,
or 8 centimeters per year.
Okay, now
so imagine
they have a report. They have a report that Iceland just sunk 3 feet, over 3.5 feet.
Because
yesterday,
there's no
one day.
structure. There's no structure underneath. The magma's eating the rock and everything else underneath it, right?
Yeah.
But Iceland's only an indicator as to what's happening all the way down. People all to go ahead and look at their maps and go from all the way from Iceland, right, down to past South America. That's going to be your incident origin for quite a few things that are happening within the next. You're looking at, well, an eruption is imminent. Right now it's imminent. But there are more eruptions that have taken place underneath the oceans, right? Severe movement is taking place. And Iceland is the worst place on earth that you want a eruption from, right? It was one of the places back in the past where something called a black volcano did erupt, putting these glass spiderweb looking things all over the face of the earth, right? That actually happened. It has enough material to eject that stuff all over the earth again. It has enough material to put us in a ash environment for at least, I believe it's 12 years is the estimation. Because once it begins, if it just doesn't have a blowout and collapse where it just stops, I don't think it's going to do that.
So
I
you
think we're going
talked
to have
about
3 to 4 episodes in Iceland.
Yeah,
So
you've
if it
talked
erupts-
about an ash environment. Is the time coming when people have to wear a mask? Is this
too many volcanoes will be erupting? Yeah, and this is going to be a good example of it.
Okay.
It'll be a good example.
Okay.
I think this is going to cause us some global issues, but we're not just talking about ash. We're talking about magma and some very significant earthquakes due to the Atlantic Ocean and the crack in it responding. That crack in Iceland, the land shifts in Iceland. The same thing is happening in the Atlantic Ocean all the way down the line. The exact same thing is happening. Right, the ground is sinking by 50, 60 feet in certain areas.
Wow.
Nickel is coming out of the Atlantic Ocean. Lots of nickel and rock. Lots of nickel, though. All sorts of things are happening. So we have a very active, right?
I didn't know Trump tried to buy Iceland. I never knew that.
Very active volcanism event taking place right now, and it's going to become a pretty bad event. But here's the other thing: it's drying up. This same magma, right, that's flowing all around the earth, is drying up water quickly. As of October 1st, there are, I believe, 30 states in trouble with water. They're going to have to issue reports. Municipalities are going to have to issue reports to people. There have been a lot of counties that have run out of water in the month of November now. November. And
okay, now this
ironically,
this isn't from drought.
Well, that's from magma.
It's from
That's
magma. It's magma.
Magma. You go down if you go down into the soil, right? You go down about 50 feet, it seems normal. You go down another 100 feet, it seems normal. You start going down from there, and it starts getting very hot, extremely hot. A type of insulation shielding effect is taking place. Water is disappearing at an alarming rate. I mean, it's alarming. It really is alarming. They're going to issue reports. They're going to have no choice but to issue reports in many different counties, probably right around Christmas, unfortunately. That's when they'll start issuing reports. I know that a lot of places on the East Coast have already begun, right? Already begun. So everybody ought to get ready for boiled water advisories.
Really?
Some places will have no water whatsoever. They're going to have to, you're going to have certain counties getting together, sharing water, pumping water from one place to another. It's inevitable. It's happening. It's happening right now. And not only that, but the fire situation.
Yeah.
I've seen towns dried up in America before where they brought water tankers in for the residents. So they're already used to this problem.
Actual wildfires are starting to kick up all over the place, right? Despite the rain, despite the moisture, there's a dryness that is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
So the water is obviously God set this planet up so there would be this perfect cycle of evaporation and rain, participation and evaporation and precipitation, and to keep it flowing. But if the magma moves and heats and dries stuff out quicker,
that's right.
And then as our atmosphere is being messed with, our jet streams are changing, our planet's not rotating right, and we're off kilter on our axis. There's a lot of things involved here. I mean, so it's like an apocalyptic scenario is developing. Is that correct?
Right, and just like a match, right? You can strike a match, nothing happens. Once you strike it,
Interesting die, that link.
it sparks at a certain temperature, right? The whole match lights. Right now, everybody is handling this situation. Fastball is going to continue, and as it continues, it's going to get that critical point to where there will be no water at all. Right. Right now, the atmosphere is capable of handling twice the amount of water. It carries twice the amount of water it did just 6 years ago.
That's crazy.
Twice the amount.
Why?
And that amount, but we're still having droughts. Part of that is because of you have particulates being introduced into the upper atmosphere,
Said that
right,
round
which
the wrong way,
lowers,
apparently.
say, the tops of cumulonimbus clouds.
Pushes
You
them
also
down.
have more evaporation coming from the surface. Right,
Okay.
Which goes up into the clouds. Now, because they're compressed, they have the ability to sustain more water. Why? Because the particulate count is heavy, which means it's going to have all the heavy dust is going to be pushed down to a lower layer, right?
Yep.
So the rain actually, or the vapors can actually they
hang up in the clouds longer.
coalesce. They can coalesce at a lower altitude, right, with a different temperature. So now you have this event happening, but the salt water, right, now is starting to fall inland.
That's not
the
good.
water in the ground is starting to evaporate. It's starting to go
That's
away
not good.
because of magma, right? So we're having saltwater intrusion, but from some of the contamination from the rain, right?
So I'm getting it. So the atmosphere is pushing down, which is causing the clouds to be lower, which means the clouds can now hold more water as the evaporation. So now we got more water hanging up in the clouds than we supposed to have.
That's right.
And we got the magma rising, heating things up, and dissipating the moisture quicker. We got more up here, less down here, because of the atmospheric compression, the particulates and the particles and the things that are falling. And then you got to throw in
pretty heavy.
then you throw the radiation in. The next thing you know, and we got 8 billion people here, and we got to send water here.
Well, that's another problem.
Okay.
8.3 billion people.
What?
Right?
Okay.
8.3 billion. But here's the problem. By 2029, they're going to fight this. Guys, I want you guys to know they're listening right now. They're going to fight this. But by 2029, they're going to be 10.1 billion people on the earth passing.
Whoa! By when? By when?
It's 2029. You cannot feed 10.1 billion people. You can't do that. We can't sustain 10.1 billion people. We could if there were no violent people on the earth, if there was no crime on the earth, if there were no, people on fentanyl on the earth, right? You can't do that. And so it's not going to work.
Mike,
they already know it's not going to work. You know what they're going to do.
You just went from 8.3 to 10.1 in 6 years.
Yep.
That is to almost 2 million people. That is a massive amount of people.
Because they know this, because they know the census data is not correct. It is grossly underestimated.
They're lying to us, aren't they?
That's why. And so we have a bad problem. They know we have a bad problem. Listen, they have a declaration too. Before it hits I believe it's something like 8.5 billion people. They're going to make that correction. That means a lot of people are going to,
die.
Something's going to, Pastor, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to tolerate all those people. They can't do it on the earth. They can't do it. If all those people were on the earth, right, poverty would shoot through the roof.
Yeah.
It's going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Now, we do have AI, and some of the advantages of AI is that it does management, and the cheaters can't really do what they do, but it's only a matter of time before hackers master the art of AI. They're doing it already. Oh, that's another story all to itself. But there are a lot of plans that are being implemented right now. They only have a max of 7 years. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
They've already started. That means now I'm going to have to say this hypothetically. Okay. If they're going to start any plans of correction, they have to do it yesterday. They have to do it. They only have 7 years to do it.
So you're saying
factor in there.
Are you saying that in the next 7 years or next 6 years, we got till 2030, They can't let this population go from 8.3 to 10.1. So they got to implement some changes or release some things on the earth that create sickness and death and wars or whatever.
Whatever they do. The presidential mandate, the little book they give every single president that has a small little note in there to decrease the population, to keep the population to a certain level.
Yeah.
Well, maybe people didn't know that was in there.
No.
But it's in there. So give it a hand.
Yeah, Vast, I don't believe that either. There's no way like 2 billion people are going to show up in 9 years. I don't think that's going to happen, especially when we know they're going to depopulate the earth.
Every single president, to accept that office, you have to accept certain mandates. And there's a mandate that you cannot let the populace go over a certain amount of individuals. So you have to play ball with those who do that.
Mike, what do you see as the ways to control a population to prevent 2 billion people?
Well, war is one, right? War is one way to do it. Conflict, right? Accidents, but the common things are not going to work. But what I'm telling you is that there are mechanisms in place already that run on a continuous basis, but they're not working. They're not working.
Oh,
so
they
the
can't
next
stop
step,
the population growth.
the next step is to begin to do something by way of, we're going to see a big decrease in childbirth, a huge decrease in childbirth. So expect much more death than usual. Expect that, right? But also expect the quality of life to go higher and higher. There's going to be a boom in the quality of life because of AI, right? I can't tell you why I know this, but everything that people know is about to change.
So people are going to live longer, but more people are going to die.
Yeah, they can't sustain this many people.
Yeah.
Everybody has their idea about the Georgia Guidestones, right?
Right.
The truth about the Georgia Guidestones, it'll come out. And it was when they destroyed the Georgia Guidestones, right? Actually, it coincides with some of the anarchy that's taking place right now. The Georgia Guidestones pointed to a specific celestial object, and that object is no longer there, right? So when that object shifts, it just simply indicates that we're in a different time, right? We're in a different era, period. The new era has begun. It was always said that the people would not know the new era due to confusion and control of information. People don't exactly, like sound doctrine anymore.
No,
they like the fanciful things.
Right.
But when they destroyed that, it's because it was telling everybody something right there in the Georgia Guidestones, right? Notice they never implemented. As long as the Georgia Guidestones have been there, nobody implemented the plan in the Georgia Guidestones, did they?
No, nobody.
Because it was a warning. It was a warning. It was a warning of what would be, right? It was a warning to the people of what would be. And a lot of people had missed that. And because they never did anything on the Georgia Guidestones. Not one thing. And it was tracking a celestial object all this time. Well, we're out of position now. Things are different. The average person can tell the sun is very different. It's rising different. It's arcing different. Everything is different. Only those with manual sundials, who started that sundial back in 2002, 3, 4, and 5, they can tell something is not quite right during certain times of the day. It's not all the time.
Well, that's kind of a pole shift, isn't it? Maybe.
Well, we have a lot of shifting. We do. We have a lot of shifting. We also have some solar pole shifting going on too. We're talking about axis shifts of the sun, right? Which is going to cause a whiplash effect due to inertia on certain planets that normally go in retro at certain times. All that's going to start to transform. People are still going to live here, but folks, get ready for the conditions on this earth to change and change rapidly. They're going to change rapidly.
You've talked about controlling population through food. You talked about the white trains that are going to be rolling. The food distribution is going to change, and that's going to affect population, I'm sure. It's going to also control and citizen containment. We're hearing about all these things. Let me ask you a question. There's 2 questions that are just driving me insane that I'm going to ask. So far different. So I'll start with this one. All right, we've seen that one of the hostages was found dead. a 66-year-old woman. She took care of kindergarten kids. She was a cook in the kibbutz. Everybody knows her body was found dead today. How many hostages do you believe, Mike, or do you have information?
Not many. I already know what you're going to ask.
Out of the 240, not many are alive?
Not many. Not many. Hamas is not. Listen, they'll talk to you on the phone in a very good tone, very promising tone, right? At the same time, they're ordering people to do the worst things, and you can do it to a human. That's the type of person you're dealing with, right?
I know.
They are not. They're a true serpent, a serpent of violence, of pure violence.
Yeah.
And so you can't. What Israel is doing, I think, what everybody is missing. What Israel is doing is they have to eradicate Hamas and those who are sympathetic to Hamas. That's exactly what they're going to do. And the president made his declaration today. I'm sure that declaration has gone out lots of times. They said this war is going to continue until two things happen. Until Hamas is eradicated and a two-state solution is achieved.
Yeah, that's
which means they're going to go forward with some of the other plans for Gaza. That means it will be under Israel's control, but if it's under Israel's control at the time, it's going to be under, some of the people who are affiliated, who can pay for such activities over there in the Middle East. So
that's
actually going to happen. That's going to happen. Well, that and with the ties with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is building a kingdom, a vast kingdom right now. Right? It's there. I think it's there. But to be fair, they've had 39 projects like.
But keep in mind, Paul's a Zionist, so don't be surprised if Mark's along them lines. Mike's along them lines as well.
Like this, that they just left in the desert, right? Just so you know that. It's not the first time they did this. They have spent billions and billions and billions of dollars on projects. They just left them, right? They just left them. But this one, they've involved a bit too many people. They're really breaking ground in this. They are ambitious, yes, but they have the money now to do it with. So that's what they want to do.
Do you think, Mike, that Israel's going to finish off Hamas? Will the world let them do it? And if so, is there going to be an agreement signed? Is that where Saudi Arabia comes in, maybe some other nations, and then Israel get the remaining charge of Gaza? But is there this real push for a two-state, you think, or what's going to happen?
I know it's going to be a two-state solution. I already know it's going to be a two-state solution.
All right.
They're going to have their two-state solution. That's just going to.
It's kind of forced on Israel too, isn't it? I mean,
yes, it will be. They have no. They don't.
Choice.
Right now, Israel. They don't quite understand. People are people. We all grow, right? And they don't understand they can directly call upon the living God. They don't quite get that.
I know that. Yeah.
But so they have to depend on the security and governments around them. So they're going to have it. They're going to have it because the U.S. wants it.
Yep.
Israel does after this. They're going to disarm Israel. They're going to do this. They're going to disarm them. Everything is going to change for Israel.
Huge.
Right. They will disarm them. Israel will
Who's going to disarm them?
Never be able to do this again. They'll never be able to conduct combat again.
So in other words,
after this is over, they're going to disarm them.
They'll take away their capability to have this much power.
Yeah.
And they'll split the land. They'll create a two-state. Saudi Arabia will be involved for sure. Everybody in the Middle East will get involved.
Better believe it.
Right. And because Israel doesn't know how to call upon on the Lord and fully trust God. They know God. They know that they're following. They're trying to figure out how to follow God. But
they're blinded.
They're blinded. I just read that in the chapter. Right. Okay. And God did it so that Gentiles like me could get saved.
That's right.
So I'm not.
As with some of these other people they don't comprehend that.
No,
I mean, it's in Scripture 1,000 times. It's in Scripture. It's in Daniel.
Yeah.
It's in Daniel. Daniel says that they were, they're going to be purged. It's a purging. They don't understand God's purging. It's just like us. We didn't come to Christ when everything was good.
No.
We came to Christ when things went real bad.
Yeah.
And we stopped wasting time because we found out how serious it was. Well, they're going to have to go, that same correction
Yep.
process is going to be on them too.
Yep.
And so they're going to see it, because then he says, I like Zechariah is one of the favorite ones. You know,
Yep.
it says when time will come to pass, and they'll say, well, who put these holes in your hands?
He'll say,
And
well,
he'll
these
say,
happened
you
to
know,
me in the house of a friend.
That's right, the house
Yeah.
of my friends. Yeah.
Right.
So they didn't even know.
No.
But they were not condemned. They did not
No.
know Christ, and they were not condemned.
That's
so
right.
Isn't that beautiful? So they didn't know him, but he's going to accept them.
Yes.
Now the Gentiles, well, we have it. It's fully open to us.
We got to get in.
But a lot of
this
them are choosing against you. The people that are showing who they really are, right? It'll make you regurgitate. It will. The people are the hatred, the serpent in people is coming out.
I've never seen it like this in my life.
And it's different. This is not normal hatred.
No.
This is Hitler hatred.
Thank you.
Is what this is.
Thank you.
This is Hitler hatred.
Some of it is coming
Period.
from people who say they're in the church.
Yeah, a lot of it is coming from people. They're sitting there saying that the Jews are the Antichrist. Have they read anything?
They haven't read.
Anything?
They haven't read
Did they
Romans
read
11.
anything?
I read Romans 11.
How can look? But here's what's so funny. It's real easy.
Yeah.
If the Jews are the Antichrist, how can the Antichrist, right, go through a Holocaust more than over and over again? They lost their kingdom. That's not what it says about the Antichrist.
No,
it says it's
not in the Bible.
People are choosing the Antichrist. It even says the government's not going to like the person that is in power.
Yep.
They won't give him the honor of the kingdom, but the people are going to love this guy.
Yep, because
right?
he's going to
They're not
feed
going to
them.
hate this guy. That's right. They're going to hate him. They're going to love him. And he comes up from a small people, and he's against the prince of the covenant.
Yeah,
right.
he
So
is.
the prince of the covenant is a prince of of Jerusalem and of Israel and of the Jews.
Yep.
You can't separate the two.
No.
I hear a lot of people too. They say, "Well, separate Israel from Jews." You can't do that.
You can't.
Didn't they read the book of Joel? That God will look down and have pity.
No.
He'll have. He said he'll remember his land.
He'll bring
and
he'll
pity
bring
the people.
He'll bring
So
the whole world to the valley of
that's his
Jehoshaphat. He said, "I'll bring the whole world to
What
the
they
valley of
reading?
Jehoshaphat. I'll plead
Yeah,
for
what are
my
they reading?
people." I don't
What
know
are
what
they
they're reading.
reading?
They're not reading. That's what it is. You and
What
I
are
have read the Bible. We know it. We know it, and we rightly divide it. And it drives me. But we have to keep talking about it because thousands
Yeah,
of
we do.
people, Mike,
Yeah.
70, 80,000 people will watch this show in next week. And they need to hear this so that they can go back and start looking against it. Well, I got to take a look at this. All right, I'm going to ask you something else. This is driving me insane, but I have to ask it. There's been 3 or 4 reports, and I don't know what to do with this. But I remember you a long time ago telling me that, well, Paul, what are you going to do when there's a mothership that goes over top and it's a mile wide?
Yeah.
Remember that? All right, there's been 3 or 4 different reports coming from different angles from within the government that a mothership has been spotted.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That it is nearly a mile wide. When I heard this, I said, I got to ask Mike. I let a lot of stuff go, but I got to ask Mike. Mike, is there anything to this, or are they blowing off steam?
Yeah, we're gonna have no. We're gonna have to deal with that element, but we're also gonna have to take it out of the realm of fantasy and really get down to the brass tacks of what people are facing, basketball, because humanity is different now, right? And the representatives of humanity are few, right? There's actually a remnant now. A lot of people who love the Lord, they know something has changed. They know the kid, or let's talk about the children. A lot of the children are different now, right? They're different. They're almost like husks. It's almost like many of them are empty. They're ready to accept things. They tack on the ideologies, right? Just like this trend of all these kids who were sympathetic to Osama bin Laden, right? There's something wrong with that. How can you be sympathetic to a guy you're finding out what he did, this, that, and the other, but you're sympathetic? So, in other words, they have no regard for their own house. That is not a godly value. A godly value is family. But if you deny family, there's another seed involved. And Pascal, believe it or not, that other seed has been quite invasive for a very long time now. And that seed has rooted itself, and it's all over the world in a very different way. And it's, when it fully comes out, it's going to be too late. It's just going to be too late, because most of these kids now that I'm talking about, they are in they're They're about 25 or 26 years old right now. And that means they're coming into the place where they can take over things. They have, you might as well say half these kids have an IQ of, it seems like they have an IQ of 400, right? That's totally off the scales. But many of them are wicked to the core. They have a different value system. They have no regard for Christ at all. Many of them have not heard of that name. Now, when you approach a person and they have not heard of Christ, something is deeply wrong, right? Deeply wrong. Because they're just not normal. These ships and things have been flying around. People they ought to go ahead. A lot of, I'd say 90% of those things are ours. I would, right? All people have to do is check the patent office of 5 systems that were put in the patent office back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And all those systems are functional, right? The U.S. Navy, those U.S. Navy patents. And It just so happens that those systems do the exact same thing as many of the physical craft that a lot of people see, right? So anti-gravity, cavity bubbles, to actually swim through the atmosphere, right? It's not like a plane where you have airfoils and you have to have lift. No, they're not doing that. They're swimming through energy, essentially, right? So then everything in front of it becomes loose energy, you could say, and it's redirected to the back, so they just kind of flow through it. And that seems supernatural, but it is not. It's not. It's just some sort of plasma transportation. But that means they can go through water and displace the structure of the water, that they won't affect the water, right? So it looks like magic, but it's not magic.
Really?
It's not. It's not magic. It's a process. It's a patented process. I know a lot of people think they're using mercury. They're using gallium. Lots of gallium.
Who's doing
is being
this?
used for that.
Who's doing?
That's U.S. Navy stuff, right?
Okay,
That's
okay.
part of the military-industrial complex.
Okay.
Yeah, but these are Navy patents, by the way, right?
Okay.
Navy patents. Another example, Pastor Paul. A lot of people, they get these visitations. Here's what you really check for. This is real evidence. The real evidence is when you have a doorknob that crumbles in your hand. The real evidence is when you have windows that seem like they're 300, 400, 500 years old, but it's a brand new house. In other words, there's a time differential to everything being touched, and often there are objects that are left around that age 200, 300, 400 years. Right. So when you fool with matter shifting, right, redirecting or sliding through matter, you're also messing with time. Time is for us. Time is not for the Father. Time is another constant here on this earth. It just doesn't affect anything else. It affects us in our perspective. That's all. Time is like an elevator, right, that we stay in. Can you get outside of time? Sure, you can. You can go right outside of time. I'm not talking about time travel. I'm just talking about affecting time, where nothing has a real constant. Nothing has a real, a slow process or fast process. It just is or it is not. And when you start tampering with the higher voltages, when you start tampering with the higher temperatures, right? For example, if you bring certain liquid metals that you can order offline near absolute zero, all the properties of that metal change. They become hyperconductive of electricity. You can turn it with a straw and it will never stop turning. Never, ever, ever, right? It'll never do that. So long as it's near absolute zero, it never stops turning. It's very simple. People can do that with a beaker. You don't need to make a superconductor. See, this is the way they misdirect a lot of people. And but only the people who make money are talking about superconductors, not the folks who have actually, gotten the award for the patent, not the Navy, not the Army, not the Space Command. They have something else. Well, that's what they want people to believe.
Okay.
That you have to do this through a process, and you have to utilize superconductors, and bring them near absolute zero, so you can have them float or repel some sort of magnetic field, and that's all you get. That's wrong. That's wrong. Because you can buy the metal at Amazon, at Walmart, at a science kit. You can bring that near absolute zero, and when you turn that with a straw, you can't stop it. it's going to keep going so long as it's near absolute zero. If you pop it in one direction, it's going to keep going so long as it's at absolute zero, right? If you start drawing, if you push current through it, here's a wonderful thing. If you take use it as a wire and it's near absolute zero, and you take the battery away, it's still trying to shoot out electrons. It'll suck in electrons from everywhere, right? And still act as that wire without a power source. That means you have unlimited electricity, so long as it stays.
Is
near
this
absolute
Tesla?
zero.
I mean, is this Tesla technology?
No,
Zero.
no.
This ain't. You're not talking about.
Well, you could say it's near it. It's near it, right?
Yeah.
But it's I'm telling you, Pascal, they do a lot of misdirects, and we've hit a time now where people are going to break loose. If people just what I just said, because people can do that at home. They can do that at home. I wouldn't recommend it, because if you bring something near absolute zero, that's minus 454 degrees plus. That that could be that could hurt, right? Of course, you only spend $30 to do it, really. But this is what they don't want people to know, so they complicate this. They complicate things. They put the wrong things in the public, and they have these important people only talk about specific subjects, so that people grow up learning you cannot do this and cannot.
Yeah, Barry, that infrared picks up specters apparently.
Do that, cannot do this. They do that to cause a big barrier between those who run these complexes or advanced scientific systems and keep them separated from everybody else. They do not want the average person sitting in their home, outpacing them in technology, because there's some pretty smart people out there.
Yeah.
They don't want that. That's forbidden. That's what causes classification. When anything is going to breach that big gap between public and these people over here who don't want anybody to know what they're doing.
Right.
That's where you have lifetime secrecy. That's where you have intellectual property issues with the federal government, and they're not going to allow anybody to breach.
It seems like the government
that
in technology, it seems like the government's always 30, 40, maybe 50 years ahead of us.
They are. But even that, even that, the YF-22 Raptor, right? They have more than 3 models of the same craft. Now, the world has only seen one model.
Okay.
I can assure you that there are models, right? You cannot be just the average person to fly that aircraft.
No.
Right? Because it's going to plug into you neurologically. Right? This is what the Tsarfati said. Right? So you're talking about they have something called swift maneuvers on that thing. And it has to employ high technology, because you have inertia dampers. You have to use anything at high speed like that. You have to dampen the body. They have a different pressure.
Yeah, because you couldn't handle the
You're not controlling it. That's right.
But we've known they had free energy for ages. It's not a new revelation.
You're not controlling it with your hands or muscle control, because you can't trust that. So you have to plug in neurologically. Now, some people know about this because the pain is poison, and they've been hurt by this stuff. But they have some advanced things, but most of that stuff out there is ours. There's a small percentage of these craft that are not craft at all. They're not.
Well, is that what
they're only manifestations of other things.
Okay,
right?
okay.
They can show up as anything, basketball.
Maybe what you're talking about here is what the Pentagon said. They said, look, there's somebody in our backyard. Whether it's either aliens or somebody, but they're in our backyard.
Yes. They've confirmed that. They've also
what in the world does that mean? I mean,
that just
simply means it is.
Right. They're aware of their presence. Right. That's what it means. This is what they acknowledge. They're aware of their presence. They know what they are, but they're aware of the presence. And there's nothing we can learn from them, because they can manifest 1,000 different ways. Right. They're not going to just freely give their stuff over to them. Now, anybody who speaks well of any ET, take note. They will always, by the way, what idiot would travel millions of miles to come to Earth, right? Only to tell you that Jesus is one of them.
No, that's not.
Why is that what they do?
Isn't that what they do? Yeah.
Right. They do the same thing as these cults do. That's what they do. They fly all that way to tell you that Jesus was one of them. That's it. You mean to tell me that's why they fly millions of miles to give that message? Really? No, that's not what they're doing. They've been here. They don't come from out there. They're right here.
Yeah.
And people deal with them. The same people or the same things they see out in space are dealing with mentally. Okay, one thing. I'm going to leave everybody with this, Pascal, because I got a motor bound. Here it is. You ready?
I'm ready.
When Satan is bound 1,000 years,
Yep,
there's peace on earth for 1,000 years.
that's right.
Okay, but when he's loosed again,
Not good.
he deceives the four quarters of the earth. So here it is. Without Satan, no one is evil, right?
Right.
There's an influence on this earth that's getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, we know that's
stronger.
true.
Without that influence, there would be no evil people. They would have no desire to do anything evil. Nobody would do anything evil. Right now, people have, there's a force that's growing, and God put the Christians in the way to undo the works of that evil, right?
Yep.
But that evil is growing, it's getting stronger. Not one Christian should allow that evil, that violence, the threats, what you went through in your past. Don't let that scare you. Because take note, it was before you truly gave your life to Christ that you were touched by darkness. Not after. Not after.
Do you think
it was before?
Okay, somebody just asked a question in the chat room. Why does he release him again? I've asked that question a million times. Okay, you got him bound for 1,000 years. Did you lay him out for a little season?
I do have
You got a theory on
an
that?
idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I have an idea.
Okay.
And this idea, ironically, since I was a kid. Right?
Okay.
Here's the idea. There are a lot of people, evil often does not know it's evil, right? Some people fight for good causes they believe it's good, only to find out it is not good. A lot of us, we did things we thought were noble to find out they were not noble. God is a just God. All those people, right, who really were under the guise of something else, right? God's going to show them what they could not have faith to believe. They're going to live amongst it, right? They're going to witness a great many things.
Okay.
Now, if a person witnesses Christ and his salvation, the Feast of Tabernacles, and they feel the goodness of the Lord, they see the goodness of the Lord, they see the product of righteousness and everything else, and they still choose or can be manipulated by Satan, then Satan was their true family. How do I know this? Because Christ said, when they get before him, he's going to say something. And this tells the whole story. Some he'll say, well done, my good and faithful servant. To others, he's going to say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. Here it is. I never knew you.
That's right.
Now, if he never knew them, then they were never one of his. They were, in fact, one of those seeds of old, twice plucked up by the roots, clouds without water.
Okay.
And he said they will always be in our feast of charity.
Yes.
That means they were a true care, and they were trying their hardest to be like everybody else, but they could not maintain it. They did not like Christ, right? And it was finally shown what they were. Because if we all started with the Father, everybody saw God, not one soul would be evil, right? None of us would be that dumb. We wouldn't be that dumb.
No, we wouldn't.
Right?
No.
Demons are frightened of hell.
Yes.
If a human knew what hell was, not one person would be evil and go to hell out of fear. God doesn't want us to follow him because we're frightened of him. He doesn't want us to not go to hell because we're frightened of it. He wants us to be family. And so the only way to choose family is by not showing them anything to let that person choose. Because when a kid says, I'm going to listen to my dad because I love my dad, okay, that's true love.
Amen.
That's what a parent loves. But if a kid comes to you and says, Dad, I'm not listening to you, I'm going to go listen to the neighbor's advice, right?
Yeah.
Then you're ready to, that just hurt you to the core. Well, the only way to find that out is to give somebody absolute freedom. You present to them darkness and light, you let them choose. And over time, through this process, people become what they are choosing the most. And God's not cruel. A lot of people say he's cruel. No, he isn't. He said he would destroy iniquity when it comes back. Yeah. But if a person chooses iniquity over and over again, then guess what? There's no light left when he destroys the iniquity out of them. See?
Yeah.
But if you're, that's right. There's nothing left of the person. There's nothing intact. And so they go that they were heavily influenced by you know who, because they were part of him, right? God does this on purpose because he does everything justly. everything is an equal balance of
He
darkness
is
and
fair.
light.
He's a
And we
righteous
simply
God.
choose. Right? That's why I said, choose ye this day whom you will serve. So then we're presented with an equal balance of darkness and light.
You're a servant to whom you obey. Choose this day whom you'll serve. And he puts good and evil before you. Choose this day. We go back to the garden all the time. God says to Adam and Eve, or he says to Adam, he says, look, you have anything you want. Dress the garden. You're in control. I give you dominion. Just don't eat of that one tree of knowledge of good and evil. We have a tendency, I remember when I was a kid, my dad he worked hard and he would come home and he had this rotor tiller and he had a half an acre garden, which was huge. But we had 5 kids in the family and, and he would work all day and come out and then he would be out there in that garden. Well, he would have this tiller and he would be out there all evening and he came in. And as he came in, he was shutting it off. There was an exhaust on the side. I saw this exhaust thing. And I was about 8 or 9 years old. I thought. He always told me, he said, don't touch that. Whatever you do, don't touch it. That's hot. One day he came out, I thought, yeah. He's been out, and I put my hand on that exhaust, and it, literally scalded me.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did I do that? He told me, but I had to touch it. I had to do it, only to find out that it burned bad.
And he told you out of love.
He did.
It may have sounded like fussing, just like the Lord said, do not steal, don't commit adultery, right? That's a plea.
Yeah.
That's a father telling his
So
children.
I run in the house, my hand's on fire. My mom says, oh, come here, son. She puts ice on it for a while, and then she puts some of this, what do you call that? Avera salve, from the Avera plant. Yeah. She had some. And she said, now what you need to do is just go to bed and lay down. And she gave me a couple
No, you never.
I never touched
that again.
No! Never again.
You didn't touch that. But that's part of the process. And no wonder we can be forgiven. No wonder God sent us. He decided to send his son at the beginning of time because he was going to assure that we get through this process. And those people who are let loose that instantly follow Satan, they're also instantly judged, right? Yeah. They're done for. But he is a just God. They enjoyed their 1,000 years of peace. Clearly. Amen. They were among supernatural things. They could see it. And they still chose Satan. So no one's going to have an excuse in the end. They're going to know exactly who they are. There'll be no denial. There'll be no, well, I didn't know.
We're going to get a fair shot at this all the way. Yeah. Let me ask you one last question, Mike, before you go. And as people are still asking me and been asking me for some time to ask you. We know there's going to be a water event in Arizona. There's some people who live in Arizona. Okay, quite a few people watch this from Arizona. And so they're saying, what is that? Can Mike help us understand? What does that mean? Should I be moving? Or what does it mean? Can you help us?
Well, a water event is a sudden shift or rise in the water, right? Now, I mentioned Arizona. They're a good example. They're going to have a tiny one, which means they're pretty dry, right? So it's going to, a lot of people, they'll say water event. Well, it's probably not going to be one of those. But if they saw Arizona with too much water in it all over the place, they would change their minds, right?
Yeah.
A small example of what is to come, and that will come for Arizona. Arizona is going to have a sudden rise in water, right? And that should be enough to inform those who can see and hear that, hey, yeah, this can happen. Because when the water event takes place, it's going to be global. Now, it won't destroy all the earth, right? But it's going to rise upon every single coast.
Yeah.
Every single coast. But and the bottom line, Pascal, there, it's not going to be just like that tsunami that came out of nowhere, right? Yep. The water event's going to be similar. There's not going to be an indicator. It's coming. It's just going to suddenly rise up, and there it is, right?
It's not really not a tsunami. It's just water's just going to start rising, right?
That's right.
Okay.
If I get into the details, that would take too long.
Okay,
right?
I got you.
But let's put it this way: even right now, if certain things happen which are unnoticeable by those, by everybody, if they happened fully, we could have 36 feet of water over all the land masses in less than probably an hour.
What? You do realize what you just said? Thank God for the rainbow. Thank God that the Lord promised us he wouldn't do 36 feet over all the
See,
land.
you get it. You get it. You
Yeah.
realize it. You realize
He-
a lot
but
of
you're
people, they
saying-
don't get this. They don't get it.
You're saying that
That
scientifically
potential exists right now.
that
Right
exists,
now.
but because of God's promise, it won't happen. But it could, but it won't.
That's right.
Because okay, I got you.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll sleep good tonight. You know, I'm not going to be floating away in the bed. It means everything's going to be fine. I'm just not going to. There's some other problems I got to worry about.
Sometimes we just don't know how blessed we are, Pastor Paul. But I tell you, when you do find out, you can't live normal anymore. Yeah.
No,
you just can't.
Thank God
You
for His
can't.
mercy and His grace and His love for us, because we
Yeah,
would be done
yeah.
if it weren't.
It
Mike,
really would be.
Mike, thank you so much. Can't wait to find out what you and I are going to talk about. We're going to be when we film you for Invasion America.
Oh yeah, it'll be a doozy.
It'll be a doozy, and it always is with you. So I'm gonna, get good night's sleep before I watch this webinar on December 1st. But I look forward to filming that with you, and we'll find out more. So, well, you said 8 days the sun. It's only been 7, so I better keep my eyes open tomorrow. Something might happen with the sun. I don't know. Is it possible?
I still can't understand why everything wants to happen on Thursday. I'm not going to be shocked if things go up, but I tell you what's got. Listen, it's still the fires. That dream of the fires.
Yeah.
And I know about the stone steps and the guy in the coffin, or the person in the coffin, and that's still on. That hadn't gone anywhere.
That ain't gone nowhere.
But the fire, that guy that spoke no words, but was yelling with no sound and pointing, and all the hills were aglow, and that glow got brighter and brighter. That wasn't good. That was not good.
That actually happened in Italy. It actually happened in Italy a couple of days ago. Mount Etna had a volcano eruption, and the whole mountain was on fire.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
I saw the
bad.
picture.
Yeah,
It was really
because
bad.
in the beginning, past all the dream, it was a small glow. That glow got bigger and bigger. Then I looked around, and every mountain and every hill was on fire.
No.
Everything was on fire. It was on fire.
Wow.
And that guy was warning. I didn't hear anything. His mouth was moving. His finger was pointing. I could see the look in his face. He was deadly. He was trying to get my attention, or get anybody's attention, or look. And that stuff has started. It started to burn. And when I look back around at everything, all those mountains and hills were on fire. And it's just shocking, because now the East Coast is having a fire problem, of all places.
Yeah, that's strange.
I see the West Coast, but not the East
Not
Coast.
the East, but All right, we'll keep our eyes open. We'll keep our eyes open, and we look forward to talking to you next Thursday, Lord willing. And next Thursday is Thanksgiving. I don't know if you're available or not, so we need to clear that right now.
Well, if you are, I am.
I am. I will be available.
I'll be available too.
Okay, all right.
So we can do that.
We'll do it next Thursday.
That'll
Okay.
be good.
All
We'll
right.
do a Thanksgiving Thursday thing.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm out. God bless. See you tomorrow.